Hello, sumo fans.
We are back as promised.
My goodness. I don't even know how to opening salvo this.
Well, at least as a good thing, nobody could have predicted this.
No, oh goodness.
Not even the winner of the tournament. Like, this was unpredictable, so I don't feel as silly as usual being totally wrong.
Yeah, this is so normally the Nagoya Summer Basho always has a certain amount of chaos. This one just takes the crown. I do not see any amount of Slippy Otoshi's topping.
No, we had a Flippy Otoshi.
Yeah.
That was pretty interesting. But yeah, the whole heat thing, that was on factor.
Everything took a backseat. So first and foremost, congratulations to
Ichinojo. Whoa.
Gonna get into how awesome that is outside of everything else. So normally we start at the top. But there is a 43rd wrestler this time around by the name of COVID-19.
And it was quite influential.
And I feel like rather than trying to sprinkle in COVID, now we will be talking about how being benched for COVID does affect individuals here and there, but I think we have a 43rd opinion this time around, namely that 15 top division pullouts. What was the number of everybody? It's over 150. It was
like 178.
178-ish wrestlers could not compete the whole 15 days because of the viral outbreak. There's a cloud of uncertainty over everything now because it's not just and there's a couple of people that when their name came out with the ban, I'm just like no. There was a range of emotions. We'll get into all of that as we go, but just like people who were there weren't fully there because they had COVID in the back of their minds. People who left, some people may have been saved. Other people potentially had a lot of their momentum taken away.
Or careers ending.
And so I feel like it sort of just threw a wrench in the works in the way that nothing really has, at least in recent history.
Well, particularly because every day there'd be a new set of wrestlers, so you didn't know. And, I did that live stream earlier in the week where there was a 7-way tie. Most of the people in that 7-way tie were victims of it. So it's like, are we going to get to the final day and there is no Terunofuji? There is no Ichinojo?
Every day I would go in, I'd watch the sumo highlights, and I'd be like, who's gone next? Who'd they get? I was like, are we going to have sumo?
Right, is the whole thing going to be canceled?
Yeah, there was the one day that 4 or 5 people in the top division all got axed at once, and from that day onward, I expected to show up and be like, there is no sumo. We're done. We ran out of people. It was, so if you, what I'll say, what is hopefully a positive takeaway is that this is going to be a rude awakening for the Sumo Association. So we discussed prior that there's hundreds of contributing factors about did they have a plan? Did their plan matter? Did being in Nagoya affect this versus being in Tokyo? Once COVID got in, is there a way of solving this?
Right, is it already too late once the first infection started?
Initially I was a little concerned from a public health perspective when they did steady as they go, and they sort of they kept it going to the end. I've came to the conclusion, at least my own personal thoughts, is that canceling it when there could have been sumo would have been far worse than just dragging it across the finish line.
Exactly, especially considering that the exposure's already there. So it's either the guys who don't get it might as well fight because everybody's already sold their tickets. The fans, they haven't seen sumo in a couple of years, so it's just and on top of it all, it seems like there's no stopping it, and it's going to be with us forever. So at some point, I don't know. We were going to get into how this affects next tournament, et cetera, but it just kind of felt like the lid was off the box. Mm-hmm. Chaos is here, and now we have to do a mad dash to figure out how do you salvage life now.
How do you salvage it? It's a really good point. I'd forgotten this was the first time they were back in Nagoya since COVID, which is another reason you don't want to pull the plug.
Exactly.
So I'm hoping that, again, come September, there is at least somebody has a contingency plan,
Right.
You put a folder in, in a sealed safe somewhere, And then if COVID comes out, like you open the safe and you read it out and you're like, this is the battle plan.
Exactly.
I
could make it interesting if there was one.
You can pontificate all day about, do you plan for this? Can you plan for this? Should you plan for this? But it doesn't matter. But what does, again, closing thoughts is COVID got 15 wins.
Zen show you
Zen
show.
show you show for COVID-19. So I guess well done.
Wish there was a second trophy for you.
It's in it for the love of the game. What could we say?
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure COVID will be back for a rematch. Wants to defend its title.
Oh, goodness. So, all right, on to wrestlers. We will continue at the top of the list of people who are actually in sumo. Terunofuji Yokozuna won East 11-4. I will say a return to dominance, but with an asterisk. So a lot of the problems that Terunofuji had with the balance, with going backwards, the knees, the injury that sort of messed up his ability to do the defenses, that feels shored up. And there's two big things. One, revenge against people who had been taking his number. Tamawashi and Daieisho in particular. Oh, and Takanosho. All of them had beaten him in the past. He beat all of them this tournament.
All of the ghosts of Christmas past.
So this is, if there was any sort of a mental game going on, now for Terunofuji, it's like a steel trap. But even so, like if Tamawashi beats you 3 times, that gets in your head whether you want it there or not. Yeah. So he's beaten all those old people. Big point 2 is he had a couple of those legendary defense moments. And this was like when Terunofuji was like the man to beat. Still kind of is, but 4 losses. But back then, like, he would be like, there's no way you're getting out of this. You're like 45-degree angle, leaning back against the ropes, but he held firm. There were a couple of matches like that. That tells me the issues that he was having with the defense, with the holding, is getting shored up.
Right, he's sort of anchoring himself to the ground. He's got his contingency plans.
Yes.
Like, if this guy gets the momentum, I know how to stop, reset, go again. That's kind of his style right now, so that he doesn't do any chaotic knee stuff.
I almost feel that, like, particularly the final 2 losses were more about who he was facing.
Yes, these were not Terunofuji losses. These were 2 guys who had a lot to prove. And we'll get to them when it's their turn.
Yeah, if this was what I would call normal circumstances, that would be a 13-2.
Yes.
And this would be a totally different.
You'd probably be talking about playoff between Terunofuji and Ichinojo.
But the way things ended up.
Right, but consider COVID too, in that, maybe Terunofuji was, he was focused on the fights that he thought, oh, I've lost to these guys before. Maybe just a little bit of, I want to get out of the ring, affected him in the matches that he thought he could win, and it was just that much of a hair that made him lose.
That much of it. It's game of inches with sumo. But I'm taking mostly positive for Terunofuji.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, the record, once again, this entire tournament, if you look at it just on paper, if you weren't watching and you're not a sumo fan and you're looking on paper, you would not have any idea what really went on.
It doesn't tell much of anything.
It just wouldn't make any sense.
I'm hoping to see, like, at this point, I almost feel like Terunofuji had it taken away from him a little bit.
I'm sure he feels that way too.
So come September, I'm expecting an angry Yokozuna, like a guy who, if there was anything holding him back before, he is.
It's going to be unleashed.
It's exciting. So secondly, we just mentioned the resurgence of the Ozeki. Takakeisho Ozeki won East, also 11-4. So I was already pretty pleased with Takakeisho's performance, and I'll not steal your thunder on this a little too much, but what had been the narrative for Takakeisho was sort of his inability to just knock people into orbit, which was his bread and butter for so long. The majority of the wins that he got did not win off the tachi, which tells me that Takakeisho is evolving his game again.
He has to. At this point, as we've been discussing, and it was a topic on the live stream on Monday about the state of Ozeki, Takakeisho must adapt, or he's either going to be perpetually Ozeki and or not Ozeki at all.
Yeah.
Because the power's gone. It's probably the neck injury. And he has a background in other types of martial arts. I mean, he can do some things. They're not going to be, he doesn't have the same bag of tricks as the guys with the longer arms. But he tried things. He won in interesting ways. He had a little controversy with the top knot, which we, it's water under the bridge now because so much happened. Who cares?
Man, if you ever wanted to have like a childish, immature tantrum moment and have it get thrown under the rug, Takakeisho picked the right tournament for that.
Yeah, and he kind of made it up to Ichinojo at the end. I mean,
a little bit.
He kind of helped him get that title without having to fight a playoff. But what's interesting about Takakeisho is, once again, if you were looking on paper, particularly in the first week, you would have thought, oh, the Ozeki is underperforming again. And then he just dominates in the second week, and then he beats his nemesis Terunofuji. They are the current great rivalry. Yeah. It has been a little stale between Takakeisho's injuries and even Terunofuji kind of being a little unstable. They haven't been facing each other in the same capacity. But this brought the rivalry back. Takakeisho, no matter what his fear of COVID was, no matter the fact that there was no way he could win once Ichinojo won, and not even be in the consideration, he gave it everything he had, and I think he surprised Terunofuji when he pushed him out. Terunofuji looked like, wait a minute, I lost. That heart that Takakeisho has, it's legendary in my mind. For as much as people get on him about his one-dimensional sumo, he wants it so bad. That last match tells you everything you need to know.
When people are fighting for pride, you can tell who wants it all the way. And I would agree with you that he had no skin in that game.
No.
He didn't, if anything, he wouldn't have minded giving Ichinojo another run over the coals. But he's just like, Terunofuji, if I can't win this, neither can you.
Exactly. I'm taking you with me.
So that's a different level.
Yeah, and I love that the fire's still there. I mean, he could have just taken it easy, I want to get out of here, I don't want to deal with this COVID stuff, but he's like, no, I'm going to show my Ozeki pride, and I'm glad, because I'm just sick of hearing about how much he sucks. Okay, call it my bias.
I feel all three Ozeki they'll have another round of prove thyself.
Oh, absolutely.
September. But the way that Takakeisho conducted himself, hair pulls notwithstanding, this is a guy who is figuring out how to do it again. And if he keeps this kind of maybe my train of a Tachiai is gone, but that's not going to stop me from winning, he may pivot.
All the greats do. That's the reality. If you want to be great, you've got to change your game. That's exactly what Terunofuji did. Terunofuji had it all when he got diabetes, cellulitis, busted knees. He had to start from the bottom, work his way up, and look at where he is. This is the real test of character for Takakeisho. If you can't adapt, it's over. And I like that we're seeing
the adaptation, the plan B that we were mentioning. And even though he lost against Wakatakage, going for the arm lock throw.
That was interesting.
It's the fact that he's like, I got to figure this out. And the thing, that wasn't that didn't work, let me try an arm lock throw. That was in his brain from the start.
Right, I'm going to do this.
He was like, I'm just going to grab this guy and just rip his arm out of his socket and throw him to the ground. That was his game plan.
Yeah.
And usually that's a risk.
I'm sure he thought this may not work. I'm sure that entered into his mind somewhere. I mean, you got to go in to plan to succeed, but somewhere in his mind, he had to know, okay, it might not work. This wasn't I'm desperate against Wakatakage. It's, I got to start trying something.
Got to start trying something new. We'll see if this works. So, very positive feelings for Takakeisho in the future. Now, just the way that everything is, I feel like September is going to be sort of like the reality check for a few of these emotions.
Exactly. You can have your high excitement, look at what I did, but then reality comes back and slaps you in the face, and that is September.
That is September.
Totally correct about that.
But pending reality coming back, Takakeisho looking like he's pivoting. Very good. So, next up. Okay, here comes the COVID train. Mitakeumi, Ozeki 1 West 2, 5, and 8. I know that you had mentioned during the live chat about Mitakeumi must have had a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I encourage everyone to listen to that if they want to hear more about the in-depth, because it was very fresh at the time. But yeah, he's the man who benefits the most from the COVID situation.
Yeah. Now, I will give all these people a pass that they weren't looking for COVID. Also, he was like one of the first real people it hit. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give him a pass on did you ask one of your lower ranking people to go lick doorknobs? I'm like, I'm not going to have that conversation. Whether or not it happened, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go on the honor system, and nobody wanted COVID. But Mitakeumi, who apparently had shoulder issues, had training issues, and was already what day did he do this henka? When did he fight Kiribayama? Day 4, he does a half henka on Kiribayama.
And you already know, yeah.
Zeki doing it. Mitakeumi, we were giving you crap for that when you were in Sanyaku. What are you doing?
Right. He must have been desperate. He must have known, like, there's no way I can win.
Uh-huh.
And that's got to be terrifying territory. So he got, like, the mercy call here. Whether it was intentional or not, he got it. It is what it is.
So just historically, I feel like they're going to let him keep his rank. So he's going to get another chance at Kadoban. I think that if Wakatakage was going to get promoted to Ozeki, that might have changed.
Yeah.
But the way things are, the way it ended up, I expect Mitakeumi to be on like double secret Kadoban.
Right. It's sort of like a do-over. Like, okay, we're not going to demote you, but you're still in Kadoban. So, he only has one more tournament to heal that shoulder. It's not like he can get a COVID save again in September. So it's kind of like, what's the point of obsessing about it at this juncture?
So luck goes both ways.
It does.
So
sometimes
luck, yeah, I mean, luck put him in Kadoban with an injured shoulder and no training, so then luck gave him COVID. Whatever.
There you go.
Whatever. Apparently that's evening it out. Can you imagine, like if we had like shoulder injuries and then we get COVID, I would look up and be like, what did I do to deserve this?
Yeah, I that's not good luck for me. that only works for one guy.
Yeah. So it happens to Mitakeumi, and he's just like,
You're not the worst.
Okay, sure. Let's fix this. Well, Mitakeumi, you got 8 wins ahead of you in September, or we're gonna be laughing at you.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do?
Yeah.
At this point.
Watch, he gets a Yusho in September.
Well, he might. I mean, this sumo thing is getting so wildly out of control. But as I was discussing on the live stream, this whole Ozeki Kadoban thing, there may be a need to fix it in somewhere down the line, because all these Ozekis are getting beat up. And
slammed. If
the system has it such that you always have an injured guy, you're never going to have the Ozekis you want. Like if the intention is only the strong survive and you just don't care if people get injured, well, I guess keep the system. But if you want to keep tickets being sold and you care about having strong Ozekis that will make it to Yokozuna, you got to figure something else out.
This Kadoban system it's not the first time this has happened either. That we have.
No, this has been a cycle since Goeido and Takayasu. This has been going on for like 10 years now at least. I don't know before then because I wasn't watching, but I mean, Takakeisho, the first time he became Ozeki, got hurt, stuck in the cycle. Mitakeumi gets hurt, stuck in the cycle. Shodai, we're going to get to Shodai.
But in any case, Mitakeumi perhaps spared a future fate. Now, I will hope he heals up. I hope COVID isn't bad for him. I mean,
right.
This is the condition with all this. Well, joking about being safe Kadoban aside,
COVID still isn't something you want.
COVID's a bit bad. But I have a feeling that they're very healthy young men, and I'm pretty sure they have like the best doctors. So I'm not terribly worried. But in any case, Mitakeumi, I'll see you in September. Finger wag. Next, Shodai, Ozeki 2 West 10-5, which at the time of your live chat, what would it have been like about here fighting Tamawashi?
Yeah, at that point
when he was 3-4, and we're looking at the second week, and we're like, goodbye Shodai. We thought, but it's that back against the wall motivation for him. It's just something about the fire doesn't really get stoked until he's going to lose his rank.
This is just who he is. And we talk about this a lot. Sumo wrestlers are human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know somebody in our life where they cannot perform excellently until their back up is against the wall. These people who are writing papers at 3 o'clock in the morning, or, they have a job interview and they're like looking over all their notes 10 minutes before the interview, because if they do it a day before, it just doesn't affect them the same way. This must be who Shodai is. I mean, he's done it twice now, and in convincing fashion. It's not like it didn't look fluky. It looked intentional, even though it wasn't intentional. Like, I'm sure he wanted to.
The way he was fighting was the old Shodai, was the actual Ozeki Shodai.
The one who became Ozeki.
The one who became Ozeki. Like, the way that he would just almost casually absorb strong tachi eyes. And, like, that was his trick. Like, you'd go into him, no matter what you hit him with, he would just eat it. And he would just calmly grab you and force you out. Like, and that was a couple of matches. And then there was I'm moving backwards, but I've got the entire ring in the back of my head, so I'll just pivot when I need to. Like, that was how he was doing his wins. And so the big thing for me, for Shodai, like, once he got, it was against Aoiyama, he got his Kachikoshi. Like, in the back of my mind, there's going to be 3 versions of Shodai. There's going to be the 8 and 7 Shodai, who just did exactly what he needed to do, and then he just falls right back into it. Like, so if he had gotten 8 and 7, I would have been like, he's
so terrible.
It's just like, well, he's gonna lose the next 20 matches because there's no more fire in him.
Yep.
Then there would have been like the 9 and 6 Shodai, who would have gotten the last day win, but not the win against the Yokozuna. But we have this 10 and 5 Shodai, a guy who already has cleared Katoban, but decides that he wants to put Terunofuji in the ground.
I mean, how beautiful was that for Shodai?
And I had to replay that fight like 4 times.
So did I. I just kept going back and back and back.
It was a slick move.
It was a slick move, and Terunofuji never saw it coming. And now picture this situation: he doesn't lose to Takakeisho. Now he's 11-4. Now he was the one, like, literally, Shodai was 1 match away from being in the title conversation instead of Takakeisho. And I have to laugh because I read comments. People had him dead as a doornail, and he beats the Yokozuna, and he almost was in the playoff conversation. Don't play betting games on Shodai. You'll lose all your money.
Now, that being said, so when it comes to September for Shodai, I fully expect a regression because he did this in March when he was in Katoban.
Yep.
That he woke up in the second week and changed the fate of the U-Show by when his pride fired up. Because that's the other thing. It's like once he gets past the doubt, past the Eeyore style, ooh, I just couldn't get it together. Like, then he starts fighting well, and then he remembers that he's good at this, and that people aren't gonna beat him.
Right, and they're it's sort of like playing possum, not intentionally, but people weren't expecting to. They were expecting to be beaten by Shodai. I don't think Terunofuji expected to be beaten by Shodai.
I would have gotten that bet wrong.
I don't think anybody would have correctly picked.
No way.
Shodai. With that being said, I have such a terrible streak, but I'm going to predict Shodai will do the same thing in September.
I think he'll do the same thing in November.
If he follows his pattern, yes. What we don't know, and we'll find out. There's a couple factors. One, the summer tour is going to tire some guys out.
Yes.
If anything, it might tire Shodai out. But let's picture a scenario in which there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Possibly.
And it just happened to strike right now with Shodai. Probably not the case, but if it is, we could just count 10 and 5 Shodai as the new Shodai. But we'll have to see. He has fooled us multiple times.
I feel like it's not even worth putting money on the table until.
Well, no, I would never put money on it.
No, not until we see what he does in September. Like, if he does another 10 and 5 in September, I'd be like, okay, have we figured it out? If he gets a 5 and 10 in September, we'll be like.
Be like, well, we know it's a pattern, and then everybody will expect when he's Katoban for him to like win the U-Show.
Yeah. But hey, whatever it takes, right?
So the state of Ozeki, at least for the second week in July, looks good. If you were looking at this on a piece of paper, the Ozekis did what they should do. They both had an impact on the final, even though neither of them were runners-up. They both impacted the final, above 10 wins. This is the, at least, expectation of an Ozeki, which we haven't seen in a long time.
We finally have Ozekis that scored like Ozekis.
For second week in one tournament. But I want to take this positivity.
It's a starting point. We will build on this foundation.
We have to.
Okay, so next up, we are going to Wakatakage. Unfortunately, not going to be an Ozeki anytime soon.
Got to start all over again.
8-7. It's a rough 8-7.
Yeah, that he had a rough tournament.
So what's interesting is some of his most crucial losses were people who planned to fight him specifically. So when he fought against Abi did this like madman dash at him, and I feel like that was drilled because it wasn't the normal Abi fight, and also Abi was like flowing his hands up, and so like when they went out, like Abi's hands were like above his head. He was flailing all this up.
Yeah, Abi was like, it was almost like a suicide tactic.
It was a suicide crash.
Yeah.
And when he fought against, I have my notes here. When he fought against Kotonowaka, now by the way, Kotonowaka did absolutely great, and I'll get mad at that later.
Yeah.
But the way Kotonowaka fought Wakatakage was methodical. It was, I need to fight this guy a specific way in order to beat him. So unfortunately for Wakatakage, he's good enough that people are like they're watching tape on him now.
Right.
And so his core sumo is starting to get upended, which is where the 8-7 comes in. Now, what is nice is anybody who's not doing that, like Hoshoryu and Kiribayama, other up and comers, other hot blood, he's still beating them in the same ways.
Exactly.
And also, by the way, Hoshoryu and Kiribayama had good tournaments. They weren't slouches this time around. So Wakatakage still got it. He's still mostly top dog in Sekiwake. Unfortunately, he's going to stay in Sekiwake.
Right. He's not going to progress. But we can almost forgive him with the shadow of COVID hanging over things. He strikes me as the type of guy who definitely would be affected mentally by, looking over your shoulder for COVID.
It's just real rough that it happened to him this tournament. Because
when he was poised to...
Yeah, because it was like 12 wins and it's clean. Like 10, 11 wins if one of those Ozeki falls out. And then like once he got that 6th loss, I'm like, there's no...
It's just done now.
Yeah, and then he loses on the last day to Shodai, and I exhaled very slowly. I'm like...
Yeah, it's like we were really hoping for the next guy, and instead the 2 Ozeki that everybody had written off become Ozeki, and they push the young guys right down. Know your role, Wakatakage.
He's unfortunately the casualty of all this madness. The good news for him is I don't see a way anybody's going to pull him out of Sekiwake.
No.
Well, more out of Sanyaku. Like I can see,
he might go down a little bit.
I can see a 7 and 8 getting pulled out of him, but at this rate, like the way he's fighting, the power of his technique,
he'll learn a lot from this tournament too.
Mm-hmm. I feel like his base of power has reached a point that he will be a regular at the top.
Yeah.
So it's just sucks for him that he needs another 6 months.
Yeah, and it sucks for us too.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
These Ozeki runs are so painful for everyone.
So speaking of busted Ozeki runs, now this was super premature when I saw Daieisho 11-4. I'm like, he does that again. Hey guys.
Well, how about the fact that I picked him to win? It's like I am the kiss of death for these guys.
It's a little rough. So Daieisho was 6-7-2 at Sekiwake 1 West. So he was 6-6 when COVID came for him, which is super awkward because what does that mean for his rank?
Yeah, that I don't know.
If I were to guess, him and Hoshoryu are going to swap places.
So, he'd still get his opportunity.
So he's still in Sanyaku, but he just goes down a little bit. Now, because then it gets really weird because, like, what do you do with Hoshoryu and his 9-6?
Right, he has to go somewhere if you can make it work.
Yeah, but...
It's basically what they did to Ichinojo, and they dropped him down.
They brought him down
one.
a little bit because everything else was just so tight.
I'm guessing you're probably right about that they'll do that.
They'll do a little. It's again like he's still in Sanyaku. He keeps the general position. It's because the thing that sucked, and this is the same thing that's happening with Takakeisho. Like Daieisho isn't winning on his Tachi Eyes alone anymore.
Right.
That was the big factor. If he got like against Tamawashi, not against Aoiyama, he defaulted there, but like if there was like even one or two more like early wins, then it would have changed a lot of everything, I feel.
Yeah, I think we could say that for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Like that such a shame that the first week for a lot of guys was slow. And then COVID comes in the second week.
Yeah.
So it's like if you could have just started off a little stronger, you'd have a lot less to worry about.
Yeah. But this is the logjam. This is the Shark Tank right underneath the fact that the first 5 ranks of Mega Shear, it's all people who are fighting to be Sanyaku. There is no margin for error up here anymore. And as we'll find out with a couple of unfortunate people, like when you put two things, you just squished them together, like something's gonna fall out, and
it might be you.
It might be you. I think for Daieisho, again, I think that he's staying in Sanyaku, but definitely not Sekiwake. But I am going to be reading this Banzuke in September with absolutely no idea what I'm going to be looking at.
I know. You got to get like the magnifying glass and read the fine print.
I'm just like, it's going to be like pulling out an ancient scroll, and you look at it, you're like, what mystery do we have before?
Can you imagine being the people who have to make the Banzuke?
I have a feeling they'll be throwing dice at some point.
Yeah,
we don't know what to do.
They'll be getting drunk that night.
Yeah, just keep the sake flowing until we get out of the top 40.
And then disappear after you release it just for a couple days for those who are mad and those who are happy.
So, next up, Hoshoryu, 9-6. Somebody who came out of this looking very clean. So, he's like getting used to the pressure. You can tell. Like, this has been his pattern since he came into the top division. That he gets up, like the pressure's a lot for him. He gets a little shaky, then he gets a little better, and he makes a step up. And so then he made the step up to the top 5. Then he got to the meat grinder. The meat grinder gave him a little bit of trouble. He got used to it. He stepped up. He had some issues in Sanyaku, 8s and 7s, 7s and 8s. Mm-hmm. Now he's gotten used to the pressure. Where do you go from here?
Well, that's the tough part is that, with the logjam, really the next goal is Ozeki, and it just takes so much to go on a run.
I don't think 9 wins is the start of it, but like if some crazy thing happens in September, they can use the 9-6. So it's sort of a wait and see on that.
Well, what's weird about Hoshoryu is with those losses right in the very beginning, it looked like it was going to be a terrible tournament for him. But like he even looked good in some of the losses, and it was frustrating. Like, it's like, I know you're better than these losses. And then he turned it around for the 9-6. So I'm glad at the end of the day it was a good tournament for him. But I really believe it could have been better.
He's still getting up there. So for me, like the entire story of Hoshoryu was his fight against Terunofuji.
Yeah.
And that he still lost it. Like Terunofuji finally did what he did. But he put the pace on that Yokozuna in a way he had not done. Terunofuji, like, he looked surprised. Like, there was it's like Hoshoryu tasted blood.
Exactly.
He went for it. He spun him around. He did every charge and attack, and he did the leg trip. And, like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, Hoshoryu lost this, but Terunofuji, he may have had a cold sweat when he went to sleep
with that leg
night.
trip.
So, that was a warning shot across the bow.
I almost saw like a little bit of fire go right into Terunofuji's eyes.
He's
like, did you just? And Hoshoryu's like, yeah, I did.
I did.
There was a fight going on without any words. It was it's like I'm sitting at home, but I could feel the tension between the two of them through the computer screen, and I thought, man, this kid really has a future.
That's the story for Hoshoryu. It's just like he's got a future. The present still, again, 9-6 in Sanyaku, you're good. You're fine. Doing well. For that next step up, it's in the future.
Yeah.
And sort of what this was our coming in conversation for Hoshoryu, is that we didn't know when that future was. Is it going to be far? Is it going to be in a year? Is it going to be today? I'm thinking somewhere in between.
Well, I mean, what if him and Wakatakage go on a run at the exact same time? I mean, wouldn't that be cool?
We've got to reset. We've got a list of at least 3 people.
Yeah.
Who may be going on a run. This is going to be a very interesting kind of. This is also something sort of like on a larger scale. Like we were hoping for excitement outside of the Yokozuna level. This is the start of that.
We have to get to Ichinojo, but I'm thinking to myself, what do they do with him now?
Well, he's gonna get Kamasubi too. Easy.
Oh, okay.
You win a U show, you get it. They're gonna carve a space out of Sanyaku.
Right. They gotta give you something.
He's in Sanyaku. It's just there's no room. They're gonna make him room.
They better. If they don't, then we're gonna be having another conversation about controversy. We don't need that.
Yeah. So, well done, Hoshoryu, planting his flag. Kamasubi, 1 West, Abi, 8 and 7. Still, so again, you get Kachikoshi and Sanyaku, you're doing fine. You're doing all right. But this is Abi not really conquering those demons yet. It's just that he was able to get it done more than he was not able to get it done. Also, sort of a henka on Wakamotoharu.
I didn't like that.
You're in Sanyaku, buddy. You can't do that no more.
Come on. I was like, no. Do I have to give a lecture? Come on.
But, and you flip the coin. And this is the thing, like, Abi talks about how he studies people, how he's doing all this training and stuff like that. You can tell when he fought Takakeisho, that chuck, that was rehearsed.
Absolutely.
Also, like, kind of funny to see a 350-pound round man
go flying,
just getting chucked by Abi, who's not a thrower.
I love Takakeisho, but even I was like, wow, that was like the perfect over the hill.
Like you look at it, you're just like, what good form? And then you're laughing a little bit because then Takakeisho, the little doughy, just go like you almost hear the sound effect of squat.
But I was thinking, I couldn't laugh until he got up and he wasn't limping around or something.
That's true.
Once he was okay, I'm like, okay, Takakeisho, don't ever let somebody do that to you again. That's embarrassing.
It was so Abi specific. Also did beat Terunofuji, by the way. Not a Kimboshi because so like he's getting these very important, very big wins to prove that he can hang with the top people, but then does this panic plan B flaily.
Right, the flaily stuff.
There was a couple of matches that like people got him on the edge and then he just stood there like a deer in headlights. He's like, I don't know what to do.
It's like, wait a minute, do your ballet thing.
And then people just pushed him out, and then at the end he was just like, oh, that's what happened. It's so weird. It's like there's this weird thing going on with him.
Well, it's
now.
like the new Abi is like crossing paths with the old Abi, and they're having a fight.
It's a fight in that head, and he's gotta settle it down. He's gotta like clamp out those bad muscle memories.
Yeah, and like don't let the pressure get to him because I think once people started talking about him because he was doing so well, that's when everything just went. It's all gone now.
He got his Kachikoshi, which is terrible news for everybody down in Megashira because now there's officially no room. Mm-hmm. But good news for him in that he's at least treading water.
I want to see him be in the conversations. I really hope that he's going to make a run for it sooner than later. Yeah.
Now, towards him and being in the spotlight, the fact that now the spotlight's being pulled off of him may help. I think we have said that before, and I don't know how consistent that is. But again, 8 and 7 at Kamasubi, like that's what it boils down to.
Right. You did what you had to do.
I'm looking in this weird witch's cauldron of ingredients that is Abi's performance, and I sort of look at him like it's a potion.
Right.
I don't know what else to say. Try again more decisively next time, maybe. Or
maybe we'll have a lot more to say in September when things are less chaotic.
Yeah, less viral Zenshou show.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So now we are into the rank and filers. Kiribayama, Megashira 1 East 8 and 7. I am feeling for Kiribayama. So what's going on with Kiribayama? Like this is the exact same thing that happened to my man Hokutofuji, and that he is just clawing at that door, but it is not opening for him. And it's so he did rally back. He was 4-7, goes to 8-7. So he gets it together in the end. That 8-7 is not opening a door for the way that the Sanyaku is. Now here's the thing: if Abi was 7-8,
Then
he gets
it's good.
the slot. If Daieisho didn't have the COVID outage, like if that was just if he was a legitimate 6-9, he's in. So he's in this weird state that he's not good enough to force the matter. And this was the reason that he was in Megashira 1 to begin with, because he was at 10-5 at Megashira 2 or 3 when he came in July. Is that he's it's so frustrating.
Yeah, and the Hokutofuji comparison is a good one because Hokutofuji just hung out in that 1 through 3 spot.
There.
Yep.
Right there.
He was in 1 most of the time, and then just the amount of fights, the accumulation of injuries, the accumulation of getting older, he couldn't make his move quick enough.
So his second to last day match with Wakamotoharu, great stuff, by the way. So he had some good matches.
Which was encouraging. It wasn't like he was skating by to get the 8-7.
Exactly. He's got... Again, that's the problem, is that you look at Kiribayama, you see all the pieces and they're all fitting together, and you feel like the way the story's supposed to go is that he gets into Sanyaku and he goes from there. But that's not... They're not letting him. Fate is conspiring.
Yeah, and it's he had to work really, really hard for an 8-7 that means nothing.
That's the thing. That's the...
How do you keep going when you get that kind of situation over and over again?
I want to punch a wall for him. It's so it's going against... It's
it's not moving in the direction.
It's not moving. So unfortunately for Kiribayama, I feel like he's just he's gonna start tailgating now. He's just gonna, when they have those crazy Black Friday things, and you'd have people they show up the day before and they get tents, and they're just sitting out, and they're like, I'm in the front of the line, and they're like, the store, Black Friday sales don't start for another 20 hours. They're just like, well, I'll be here when they start.
I will make sure I'm getting the TV.
That's as good as it'll get for Kiribayama for now, unless he double-digit wins, and this is where it comes back to the 8-7.
I know. Now that 8-7 is a real pain for you.
How he can't force this. I don't know. Kiribayama, maybe there'll be a little more room for you next time.
Well, sumo changes on a dime.
It does.
We're having this big conversation about how he can't get in, and then September he could win the whole thing.
Win the whole thing. He's primed for it.
So
he can. If you were to come back from a time machine, and you're like, Kiribayama won the September Yusha, I'll be like, I see that.
That fits.
It fits. It's not a complete shocker. He's got the talent. It's just that half measure, whatever it is. All right, I gotta calm down. Negashira 1 West. Here we go. It's a Debbie Downer. This will lower the mood. Takanosho. So much stuff was going on this tournament, I forgot
that he was out before COVID even showed up.
Yeah.
If only he had. Well, no, if he had gotten COVID, then Takakeisho would have gotten COVID.
Almost literally to the day. The day before COVID hits, he's
starts
out with an arm injury.
Yep.
So here's the double whammy for Takanosho. First off, because it's an injury, Kyujo, he ain't got no cushion. Nope. He's going all the way down. Mm-hmm. What also sucks is he's going to pull a Meisei. He's going to pull an Onosho, and he's going to have to fight his way back.
Yeah.
After he did so well, the double-digit wins, the proof are he's got it back together. And now he's just going to he's standing on the trapdoor.
That's the cruelty of injuries.
It is.
Especially in sumo. Sure, it exists in every sport, but sumo and tennis, these sort of individual sports, injuries just destroy everything.
It's almost a waste. But what's interesting now is that we have this trend of these higher up people getting injured, dumping back down. Because this could be the fourth one. Because it was Hokutofuji, Onosho, Meisei, and now Takanosho. They're up there in the mix. Then they get thrown back down. And we're seeing these interesting mixed results. Because Hokutofuji's sort of still struggling a little bit. And maybe the injuries are a little bit longer. We have Meisei, who now as things get together. And we have Onosho, who looks like he's just ready off the rip.
I can't wait till we get to him. He is just so confusing.
It is. So we'll have to see how Takanosho comes out the other side of this. Now, if it was like a pulled shoulder injury,
right? That's something that can heal. We don't know how serious the injury is.
They won't tell us either. But unfortunately, Takanosho will be taking a dip. And I say this for everybody, and hopefully one of these days it'll be right. Please enjoy the free special prize.
Yes, this time.
Time for sure.
This time it's gonna work.
Fourth time's a charm. All right. So okay, there's two people that COVID pulling them out got me legitimately miffed.
Yeah.
I was gonna throw something. Kotonowaka is one of them because, like you had mentioned, during actually this was because you talked about him being a contender in your live chat.
Yep, when he was in the 7-way tie
because he was 7-3. Then Hoshoryu knocks him down a peg, and then COVID removes all potential. So I'll call the silver lining for this is that Kotonowaka, like in my opinion, and our discussions going into this, is that Kotonowaka's performance in the upper division looked good, but we weren't sure if it was some luck or maybe some nerves. For me, that the 7-3, like if he was in it to the end,
he would have been
11 wins, 12 wins, not even a question the way he was fighting. He is here, guys. It is legit.
And I think that he would have beaten Ichinojo. They had the potential. I'm not saying he would have beaten Ichinojo, but he, of all the wrestlers, like
in the playoff, because he already actually did beat Ichinojo.
Right, exactly. Like if he made it to the end and was tied, he could have beaten Ichinojo in a playoff. Whereas a lot of guys, like, okay, let's say Takakeisho made it to the playoff, I would have been like, he's not beating Ichinojo in the playoff.
No way.
Kotonowaka was actually and obviously Terunofuji, but Kotonowaka was like the guy who could have actually pulled it off. You could have seen it happen. And in the live stream, everybody had Kotonowaka at least in it in the playoff.
In the mix.
So I just pictured when he went Kyujo, just the whole sumo community was just like, no!
Such a wreck. But the big thing for him was like the good technique, also the patience. I mentioned this. The patience is how he beat Wakatakage. Knowing that he didn't have to rush things, that he didn't have to go for the throw. And that was one of the things that undid him before. I think also against Wakatakage, because there was one time he was just trying to throw him. Waka goes defenses, waits for the opening. So, oh man, he's gonna hit that.
He's gonna hit a stride, yeah.
Gas pedal on the floor come September. There is nothing. There's gonna be nothing stopping him then.
Yeah, I really, really expect that he's going to be taking off sooner. He's not a 6-month guy. Assuming, of course, COVID doesn't mess with him.
All things being equal, yes.
Training, all that stuff. But, man, he looks so good. I do expect, like, we're going to see big things from him sooner than later.
Big things from him. This was, like, the proof was in the pudding. We only get him for 10 days. And
it was so beautiful.
Those that's my positive. It's like we had him for 2/3 of the U show, and we already know he is just going to start running people over like he's a monster truck in one of those rallies that you run around and drive over cars. I forget the name of it. Destructo Derby. I don't know. Anyway, what can Dakota
Demolition Derby?
That's the one.
I had a moment where I couldn't remember either. I'm like,
I knew it was a D. Anyway, so. Well done, Kotonowaka. Speaking of well done, Megashira 2 West, congratulations to Ichinojo. Oh my goodness. I don't care about the caveats on this one. This is what we wanted out of Ichinojo for so long.
Years.
When we did the whole Snorlax turning into Aoiyama thing, like it's because we knew this could happen. That if he was 100% awake, 100% there, and we were like maybe 100% rested from the earlier COVID benching.
Yep.
That like once the stars align, we have an Ichinojo who's going to make a break for it. And my God, he did.
Yeah, I mean, he beat Terunofuji. He beat Takakeisho. So he beat the other two guys. So even though he got a freebie with the COVID stuff, I would not put any sort of asterisk next to Ichinojo. He was poised to win this.
He beat
like everybody.
He beat all the Sanyaku. The only person he lost to who is above him, ironically, was Shodai.
That's a whole...
Which is just amusing to think about. I mean, technically Kotonowaka because he's a half rank above him, but...
but once again, Kotonowaka was like a serious competitor.
He cleaned out the Yokozunas. He cleaned out most of the Ozeki. He cleaned out the Sanyaku.
Yeah.
And that was all on him. Like, his freebie was on Nishikigi, which...
Who he probably could have beaten.
Nishikigi was on his own
That's
dark
true.
horse tear. That was another thing taken away from us.
That one stung
that hurt,
real bad. Because I wanted to at least see if he was going to challenge him.
He was the Sadanoumi of July until COVID came along.
Yeah.
But Ichinojo, like his win over Terunofuji was like the culmination of everything. Mm-hmm. In the same way that Hoshoryu's loss to Terunofuji sort of defined everything Hoshoryu had going on, Ichinojo's victory. Nobody has beaten Terunofuji on the belt.
Right.
And like Shodai did the whole grab thing, but like this was chest to chest, man to man, sumo spirit just blowing the roof off.
Let's see who's stronger.
Ichinojo gets the win. What are you gonna do?
Right, and they have that long history. Could you imagine though, Terunofuji, exercising his demons with Tamawashi and Daieisho, and here's Ichinojo. I can beat him, and then Ichinojo's like, "Oh, it's my turn.
My turn. Sorry,
I'm gonna show you."
Yeah, I've been giving you freebies, but guess what? You're fresh out. You gotta have to pay for these now.
Yeah, I'm glad he finally. I'm glad he finally showed what he can do. Yeah. I know everybody expected this out of him, and then just eventually, he'd been so inconsistent that everybody gave up.
He did. Now, some of his losses were nerves. Like I wouldn't say this is the death of the Snorlax. Like there is a little bit of that pressure, but this is
was at the Meisei fight where it felt kind of old Ichinojo.
So I'm gonna give that fight to Meisei.
Just working really hard.
Meisei remembering he was from Sanyaku and fighting he was in Sanyaku. So like the Meisei that Ichinojo fought was the Meisei who was in Sekiwaki 1 West. Okay. That was Ichinojo's problem.
Yeah.
Now, when he fought against, I think, Shodai and Kotonowaka, he was like sort of not really putting up a fight. I mean, arguably, the Ichinojo that fought, that could have been maybe he could have turned things around. But Ichinojo got it. He got that cup. He got it, guys.
He earned it.
He earned it. You cannot. There are some blah 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 blah. It's just like, but on paper, he did the work.
Exactly.
He cleaned out the upper division. So we can pontificate all day about whether Dark Horse this or that or the other thing would happen. It doesn't matter because he's 12-3, and he put dirt on the people who also wanted that cup. So
exactly.
That's a win. That's a win. Ichinojo gets it. Well done.
Well done.
All right. Oof. Okay. Well,
more pain.
It's gonna be up and down now as we go. But Tamawashi, making sure 3 East, 5-8-2. Another COVID grab. So you had mentioned to me before that they were considering not breaking his Iron Man run because it was a COVID bench, but the fact that he still had to sit out,
it still doesn't matter.
For me, that was sort of like, it's like you're watching some documentary and there's some town is destroyed by a hurricane or by a tornado or something like that. And you're just like, oh yeah, this is really terrible. And then they pan the camera to that dirty 6-year-old child holding a teddy bear. You're just like, no, my heart. that was Tamawashi in this whole debacle for me. It's like when I saw the Kyujo on Tamawashi, I'm just like, no one's safe.
Especially because he made it all the way to day 12.
Day 12.
So I mean, he just had to stick it out a couple more days. Get COVID after, and it's just like, that is a cruel, cruel fate.
Now, he did start his fade earlier, as we can see from this.
Yeah, he probably wasn't.
Loss. So part of this was that he was fighting here's Ichinojo,
right?
Here's Hoshoryu, here's Kotonowaka, here's Terunofuji. So some of these are people that, Terunofuji actually, never mind about that, but a bunch of people who definitely had their A game going this time, and Tamawashi didn't have the Nodoa power that he normally does.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a fade going on independent of the whole COVID thing, but he could have won this out. He could have gotten to that 8-7. I feel like I feel like he was denied not just the ability to scrape it back with Sumo Spirit, but then also now. It's like the first time in his life that he's watching sumo on TV instead of being a part of it.
Yeah, and that's got to take something out of him.
That's a toll. And now it's apples and oranges a little bit. And I was also talking about this before, but Ikiyoi, the man, the myth, the legend, held together with nothing but duct tape and sumo spirit. Like, he had held on, just completely hobbled. Like, probably everybody's saying, you should sit out. And he's
for
just
like 5 years.
He's just like, I'd rather die. And then he finally has to sit out. And then that was the nail in the coffin for him. So part of me is really worried that something's going to come out of Tamawashi's engine now.
Yeah, that was sort of what we were hinting at earlier with, COVID could have ended careers.
Yes.
Tamawashi's the one to worry about because once the sumo spirit goes out, it's way harder to keep getting back in the ring. And he was so close to, like, the next record and the next record, and it's just like...
I'm hoping that they're like, we're just going to forget those 3 days happened because we made you sit out and you would have been fine otherwise. But... I'm like in September. I'm gonna go to Tamawashi. I'm gonna be like, "Are we okay, buddy? Are we feeling good? You know, you do the suicide watch check with your friend. You're just like,
I brought some cookies.
I know. I just want to hang out with you. Tell you that. Well, he can bring his own cookies, but
yeah, exactly.
You just go to me like, I just want you to know that you're loved, and we all like you, and I hope you're having a nice day. Like that's like,
right, because it's just like. Can't imagine what's going through his mind.
Can't imagine. It can't be anything good. Well, speaking of good, ignore that 7 and 8, but Ura Megashira 3 West, a refreshing sight in an otherwise tumultuous time. I also get a kick out of the fact that now almost every single person who fights Ura has a different Tachiai. Everybody is running scared of this guy.
Because they don't know what he's going to pull.
There is a little bit of the Enho. We figured it out. We just fight him different. But it's just great to see people who normally go at full bore doing like the stand up, doing the you can't go too far. He'll get in and win. And also when he fought at Mitakeumi, he did like that arm grab throw. And that wasn't I need to see the replay because they're just grabbing. And all of a sudden Mitakeumi just falls over. You're like,
right. You're like, what? When did that happen?
When he fought Wakamotoharu, like I could have written down like every single thing. I'm like, we got to talk about other people. I can't just let Ura hog the spotlight. But when he fought Wakamotoharu, and he almost like ran around he did like a 270 degree ran around him and then like threw him. There was air. I'm like, whoa, Ura, you're just supposed to push people. You're not supposed to like throw them into the rafters.
do the Abi Takakeisho Chuck.
Yeah. Kind of did a Henkan Abi a little bit.
Yeah, that was.
Look, I'm like I was about to write him off for it, but I'm just like, you know what? If I'm giving other people crap for it, I have to give everybody crap for it.
Gotta be, gotta be consistent.
Fair. So like, if I'm giving it to Abi, if I'm giving it to Mitakeumi, Mitakeumi gets 2 finger wags. I'm just like, I'll give him a half finger wag. It was a half a wag. It's just like, Ura, come on, like it's not a you can do better. It's just like you could have done. You could
still win without a Henka.
You could still win, man. It's just like, come on, you got other tricks in there. So also worth noting is that the last time he was up this high when he was Megashira 1, he was 4-11.
Right, this is a big change.
This is why I say the 7 and 8. I'm like, that's an improvement because that's 3 more wins, and basically, particularly with the way that COVID was, he's fighting the same guys he was when he was Megashira 1.
Right, exactly.
Doing good. Also, just darling pink belt. Like
I know
everything we like about Ura is still there.
He better not ever change that pink Mawashi. That will just ruin everything.
There'll be riots. Still can't figure out Terunofuji yet, but
It's always a good time.
The two of those have a good history.
Yes.
Now those histories always end with Ura losing. Like there was the one that he did like his arm was stuck in the belt, and Terunofuji looked down and was just like, "Why are you still up?"
Yeah, the sort of shock. Like Matrix-y floating in the air situation.
And then there was the fight that like he like crashed off of him and collapsed because he had given absolutely every. Those two have a good fight. So I'm still every time he fights Terunofuji, I'm like, is this the upset day? It hasn't happened yet.
I wonder if Terunofuji's wondering as well.
All right. Well done, Ura. We have some good stories that have nothing to do with COVID coming out of this.
Yes, it is nice that
despite the 7 and 8. Yeah,
there were some people who actually got to fight.
Yeah, you got to fight. Fascinating. All right, so I'm going to be mad for about 30 seconds when it comes to Wakamotoharu, who is 6 and 9. The Terunofuji fight. I can't. The farce that became. So like
that was so strange.
So I'm sitting here. I'm thinking Wakamotoharu. First off, fight first time fighting Yokozuna in his career. First time up. He's in the meat grinder. There's a lot of firsts for him. First win over an Ozeki, I think. Yeah, he beat Shodai. Well, week 1 Shodai. Still counts on paper.
It does still count.
Still counts on paper. Fighting all sorts of new people with his brother, sort of spiritually, both neither of them. Well, anyway. So then he goes and he fights Terunofuji, and he makes Terunofuji work. It is a legendary fight. It's going on for long. It's sumo spirit everywhere. Like the fight was still going on. I'm like, Wakamotoharu, you did it! You lasted 10 seconds.
You've already won.
He's already won. Like, I don't know if he's actually going to win. And then the chief judge makes a debacle out of the entirety of sumo. And so here, like, the chief judge does a terrible, weak-ass interrupting in the middle of the fight. Then they all argue about it. Which was also dumb.
How can you say anything about Takakeisho when this whole thing happened?
And then, so the smart choice at that point, first off, the referee makes a bad decision, which you shouldn't, but let's say that's fine. So then what you do is you go up and you're like, oh, I sort of called the match, but they didn't listen, and so the guy went out. I was just like, okay. So you redo it, right? It's a Tori Naoshi. It's a redo.
Right.
Because you sort of screwed it up. And then they're like, no. Let's just restart it to the way it was before. Which is a mass. Like I'm watching this. I'm like, what is going on?
It looks so weak.
Are you like, this is now a farce? You've realized that you've just destroyed all of this. And then of course, Terunofuji now has 5 minutes to rest up and has a proper belt grip.
Right. How is Wakamotoharu supposed to overcome that?
Do?
You might as well just give him the match to Terunofuji.
You might as well have.
You know, I have to go back and watch that Chris Sumo video because I really still didn't get the conversation and how they came up to that and what the rules are.
The whole thing.
It was very confusing.
I blame everybody.
That is
I am just
everybody.
mad at everybody. And here's the kicker. This guy could have gotten a Kimboshi. And in the back of his mind is that is going to bother him.
Right, because...
On top of COVID. On top of Wakatakage not doing too well. On top of the fact that he's waking up every day wondering if his stable's going to be out.
Right, exactly.
No wonder he got a 6 and 9. And it's all their fault. It's not his fault. He would have gotten it if it wasn't for
those meddling kids.
Those meddling kids and their damn dog.
That's some of the, like you said, sometimes luck goes the other way for you.
Yeah.
Now, there's a little bit more than luck, but it wasn't intentional.
So, trying to keep things positive before I completely, have an aneurysm over this stuff. He fought like he belonged here. We were talking like this is his proving grounds. Is he going to sink or swim? But the 6 and 9.
Technically, he sunk a little.
Like the thing is that usually when it's your first time up here, you get plot. You're like 4 and 11. We're just like, yeah, that's what happens to you. Sorry,
even
buddy.
The 4 wins, we're like, eh.
Yeah, but like Wakamotoharu making people sweat, making people work, and again, I feel like could have been an 8 and 7 if certain other things didn't happen.
Yes, and hopefully there'll be fuel for the next tournament where he'll take the positives and say, I can do better than this.
I feel like him and his brother have that the losses just roll off them kind of mentality.
Yeah, they seem to be the type.
It's like they take it. They're like, okay, I lost, but guess what? I'm gonna be better now.
Right, so I learned not to do X with this guy.
So, I'm going to say in September he's just gonna be as strong as he always was. And
we got to keep an eye out on him.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. I'm just like, you know what? There's always one thing. There's always one grudge I always have to hold. And
of course.
And like Akiseyama, that's like a year old now. I'm just like, that grudge is old. I need a new grudge. And now I have a grudge against the top ref. So here we go.
There you go.
Got to keep it fresh for a little bit.
What is life without a grudge? Come on.
I got to hold something. Apparently. It's got a tiny spite-fueled heart. Okay, so... All right. Speaking of people that almost got completely forgotten because of how much of a mess.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot.
So Takayasu, remember that guy? Mega Shiro 4 West 00 and 15. I'm crying my eyes out about him like 6 months ago, and I'm going through the list. I'm like, oh yeah,
I forgot about you, buddy.
Sumo has this weird here and now mentality.
It does
because everything is so concentrated. All the emotion, all the activity. It's just in this 2 week frame. So then. everything else just falls away in those 2 weeks. And
yeah,
then
like everything could happen on day 1, and you're like, I'm gonna remember this on day 15,
and you don't.
And you don't because so many things have changed.
Yeah, and then you just take that month and a half to just like space everything out and try to make sense of all that happened. So for Takayasu, I can't help but imagine 2 things. One, that he's sitting on his couch and laughing.
He's like, hey, I didn't even have to worry about it.
He's just like, what a mess you guys are in. And like, also like, I had this image in my head of him like calling up all the people who got COVID, just like, welcome to the club. So on Tamawashi on day 13, he gets a call. He's just like, how's it going, man? What are you doing this afternoon? I'm bored.
It's kind of like that show Survivor. There's this whole island they go to after they're eliminated.
Yes.
And they started putting the clips on YouTube, and it's hilarious. Like 5 seconds ago, they were all pumped up and they got kicked out and they're mad. And then the people who have already lost before them are like, come join us. Have your first coffee. Take a look in the mirror. Take your first shower. Yes. And then we're all calm and peaceful here while they're still out there killing each other.
I know.
It's precisely what I picture.
I got that vibe. What we said about him before will maintain, is that we hope that he's resting up, that this is, a mental reset, that maybe he can have a laugh about all this and sort of feel spared from it, and then come back in September and get some momentum going back again.
The summer tournament's going to disrupt the whole resting thing a little bit, though.
A little bit.
We'll have to see, because they haven't done a tour in like 2 years. And
that'll be an interesting factor in September.
It will, because it's going to benefit some guys because they're going to get all this exposure to training with other guys, and it's going to really hurt other guys who need the extra time.
Yeah. Yeah, particularly some people who are more injured than others who probably was able to use that. But in any case, Takayasu, I'll see you in September, hopefully. Hopefully. Don't fall off a bus or something.
No, jeez. Don't have some of that Aqua luck.
Yeah, no, please. All right, Megashira 5 East Endo 3-10-2, a little bit rough on paper. Keep in mind that it's 3-9, which doesn't actually sound that much better.
Yeah,
but that some of that's COVID. It's this weird fade coming from him, and that like he's still fighting. Like he had that spark that was that magical second wind, and then like every time afterwards, like he's still fighting. Like he has that second win, but it's like he doesn't have the power he once did. So like it's less of the old Endo problem of he tries some days and doesn't others, but it's more of this new. He's trying as hard as he can, but it's just not.
There's got to be some lingering injury that he's not talking about, that like everybody knows about. That's in the inner circle.
Yeah, I feel like if this was like the half trying Endo, like. Many of his fights would have been a lot more one-sided. So he put the pace on Terunofuji, and this was one of the fights that Terunofuji holding his ground showed that he's getting better at it.
Yes,
because Endo charges into him, pushing up from underneath Terunofuji like Herculean defense, and then Endo basically just runs out of every bit of energy, and Terunofuji throws him down. So like that was 100% Endo had his moment. But if it wasn't
good enough.
If it was Terunofuji in May with the shaky legs, he would have won that.
Exactly.
So that's like Endo's getting the A for effort, but he's getting the F on the score.
Right, because it's almost like he put everything he had into the Terunofuji match, and now there was nothing left.
There's that too. So maybe there is some sort of a gas tank that like he chooses his moments, he goes for it.
That's what it seems like. Like he's like, I'm gonna pick my spots. Mm-hmm. Like I want to look good in this match. Yeah. Who knows? Like what his actual mental space is for sumo, because he gets a lot of money through the fan club, through just being himself, appearances and stuff like that. Is there a part of Endo that's like, I gotta show up for certain matches, and the other ones we'll see what happens? Maybe I don't know. I don't want to.
Yeah, I do. Like, I do feel like you can phone it in a lot better than what he's doing. This is him phoning it in. We got to tell him, don't try so hard.
Right.
Like when he was fighting again, I think it was Takakeisho. He goes for that belt 4 times. He goes head first into Takakeisho 4 times. I wouldn't go into head first into Takakeisho any amount of times.
Right.
Like you can say grab his belt and you get $1 million. I'm like, nah.
No thanks.
Nah.
I'm just gonna run around and see if he gets tired.
Yeah. I'm gonna do what is called the reverse tachi and go backwards.
Exactly.
So it's so weird with him. I'm hoping that, if this is a slow fade, if he is going into the veterans crew, that then him slowly going down a little bit is gonna
help him,
which sucks because then he's not gonna be able to do what he did to Terunofuji anymore.
Right. He's gonna not have the level of competition that we like watching him, because his best sumo comes out against the best guys.
It is. So he does reflect what's around him, and so if he's down to 9 and 10. He'll still do some cool stuff because it's still Endo, and he's got one of the biggest trick bags in the business. But he's just not going to reach into it anymore.
No, because he's like, I don't need to put so much into these guys.
This guy, I'll just Yorikiri him, no big deal.
Exactly.
I'm not going to do a crazy flip at the edge.
Right, exactly.
So, well, Endo, I hope COVID, with everybody else, COVID, let's just get rid of this thing, and then I'll see you in September.
Unfortunately, he's not going to get a save. They're going to let him drop.
Well, he was 3 and 9, so he's
exactly.
I'm sort of counting when were you when COVID hit? You had 9 losses, so I see him 7, 8. Not a crazy fall, but not a double-digit loss kind of a fall.
Okay,
that's my thought. And again, who knows?
We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. Megashira 5 West is next. Sadanoumi 7 and 8, the dark horse of May. So when I was initially writing this, and he was 4 and 8, 5 and 8, I'm like, well, this is what the meat grinder does to you. And we sort of knew that it was this magical thing that happened in May and just not to expect it. But then he rallies back. He gets 5 wins off the tail end, and he gets a 7 and 8. I'm like, oh.
Right, he salvaged the whole tournament.
And he's still as good and as wily as ever. He's got the drive. He's got the technique. It's just, his ceiling is
right.
If he goes too high, then they feed him to the top division. He fought Terunofuji. I'm like, why are you doing this?
I was really surprised by that matchup.
He's logistically in range, and again, COVID. How you're running out of people. They had
That's true.
They were fighting people, multiple people in Juryo because they didn't have time in the card. So many people.
Right, somebody has to fight.
So, so they sort of did sacrifice him to the Yokozuna a little bit, but I feel like that's more bad luck than it is anything like that.
Right.
So with the 7 and 8, he's actually not going to be going that far down.
No, especially with the way everybody else was doing.
So he's going to have another crack at the top of the mix, which will be fun. Because I feel like Sadanoumi's again, that once you hit Makakoshi and then you just keep fighting like you haven't, you wanna keep fighting. That's what that tells me.
Right, it gets you more hungry instead of I'm just trying to float up here and not go back down to Juryo.
He went for it, and so that hunger, that means he's sticking around.
That's the reunion tour for Sadanoumi.
Yeah, he's gonna be in that business. So next up, Aoiyama. Megashira 6 East, 6 and 9. So I had mentioned this before that he sparks and fades. So mentally and emotionally prepared. 6 and 9 is not terrible. Steady as she goes. He fought the way he normally does.
Yeah, there wasn't necessarily any troubling signs beyond this is Aoiyama who's not getting everything to go his way.
Yeah, this is just an Aoiyama who's maybe a little more out of his depth. And doesn't have that once a year convergence of energy and power that he seems to have.
Right, that could get him Ichinojo level success.
Yeah, there is that when it does some spark hits him, and then he's just like time to do sumo. So this was more of it's sumo time, regular Aoiyama. So mortal Aoiyama did just fine. Just smacked people around, did some good stuff. I'm not worried.
You take him off the watch list.
Yeah, he's not even near the watch list, but he was on the watch list beforehand. All right, so beforehand I mentioned there were 2 people that when they got pulled from COVID, I got real mad. And Tobizaru, number 2, 8, 5, and 2. He was fighting like a different person.
He was.
He had inherited some mysterious power and was fighting. Also, he was a guy who does a lot of slaps and moving around, then just belt. I'm in there. I'm chucking you. I'm in there. I was like, there were some days I'm like, is he gonna win? Is he gonna get the Yusho? Like right here, right now?
I actually thought that too. I'm like,
I'm looking. I'm like, this is how it happens. This is exactly how it happens. I'm not panicking. I'm just like
excited.
It's happening. It's happening. And then now, then he fights Takakeisho and Ichinojo. He sort of falls off of it, but at the end, I'm like, he can still, he can play foil, or maybe things get so crazy. Like he wasn't out at 4 losses. Is not.
Well, yeah, because part of why the guys, it ended up being Ichinojo, who was like the guy, is that everybody else who was with him, either started losing like that you would expect, or COVID comes in and takes them out. And it just crushed the spirit of, who's it going to be? Like, you knew after guy after guy after guy, okay, it's going to come down to Terunofuji, Takakeisho, and Ichinojo. And I loved when we had the 7 guys that were all like, no one had won a tournament besides Terunofuji in that list.
It was so good. So,
what a heartbreaking... That was, like you said, you wake up and you look at the Kyujo and you're like, no, why? Him. This is not right.
Gotta take him the ones that I was looking for. So if he wins out, that's 11-4. That's a special prize. Also 11-4. By the way, I never would have said Tobizaru could be contending for Sanyaku.
Right.
But the way he was fighting, that's a Sanyaku guy.
I really hope that this wasn't just like a really good run of luck, and that we're gonna see more of him in September. That's my sincere hope, but it was so out of left field. I can't predict that to happen again.
I don't know. I feel like it's just like I want that Tobizaru back. I want whatever convergence of things happens, but I can't explain it. I don't know how it happened. Was this like his one time? Or did he? Or maybe he I gotta wait for September. It's gonna be the worst 2 months.
It is gonna be the worst 2 months. Even though it's the summer and it's like fun time, it's like I want to know what's gonna happen.
This is the biggest cliffhanger in such like I'm trying to remember the last time that like sumo ended, and I'm like I'm not done with you yet. Like
it's been a while.
Because usually, like at the end of the 2 weeks, we're like, okay, a lot's happened. We got to parse it out. We got to figure it out, and it's just like, okay, everybody needs a break,
right?
A few days break. Just figure all this out. But like this time, I'm just like, no, September needs to happen now.
Right. We feel like this story is not over.
We can't let this. We can't just sit on this, guys. It's gonna go away.
Once again, the summer tour will kind of show you at least a little bit, because
window. You're right.
I guess it starts in 10 days, so by then all these guys will be cleared of COVID.
All the cleared of COVID, yeah.
And then they won't be worried about it like going on the summer tour, because it's done for at least a couple months. So we will see. Maybe they could keep some of the momentum going. Like maybe that's the good thing about this. Yeah. They won't sit there and be stale.
Yeah. Well, what's also nice about the summer tour is that it can help like motivate some people,
because they're gonna meet fans that are like, I love you so much.
So I can particularly somebody like Tobizaru, like you're gonna need to like peel people off of him.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he'll be one of the favorites.
So anyway, Tobizaru, please do that again.
Yeah, we need our do-over.
When you get a full 15 days, and like he'll get a prize. He can get a Yusho the way he's fighting.
That would have been so excellent to watch him in it.
Well,
but he did lose to Ichinojo, so at least we have a little bit of closure.
There's a bit of I don't feel like it would have happened, but we'll
never know.
We'll never know. It's in the knowing.
Yep.
So anyway, Megashira 7. Oh boy, this is just a. All you can do is laugh. Okinoumi 4-11, but technically 4-10 and a withdrawal due to COVID. Just the fact that the people were out on the last day, I laughed. I'm just like,
I'm like, that's like a parting shot.
I was just like, COVID, come on, you couldn't just
like get him tomorrow.
You got him today, and I was like, okay, fine. It's just gonna be that way all the way to the end. I get like on one hand you're like this is dumb, on the other hand you're like there's really no other way.
There's no other possibility, but that COVID's like I'm not quite done yet.
Hilarious, but for Okinoumi, I feel like his story was already told. So his 4 wins, by the way, one was out-muscling Tochinoshin on the belt.
That was an interesting match.
Showing he still has the strength, and when he can get it together, he's an unstoppable force. When he got up to this point, because he was slowly falling onto the watch list, he sort of rallied together. He had I think it was a 9-6, and for Okinoumi, it was sort of you can see the dulling of the edge, I think is what I mentioned.
Yeah.
Like he's slowly fading a bit, half step off. I was like, if you sharpen that, if he can shore that up, if he can be a little bit better, Okinoumi would be right back in it. But a lot of his losses were close losses. Or it was him getting caught out immediately or just couldn't react to things that I feel like an Okinoumi from last year could.
The age is a factor.
Yeah.
It's these types of losses that definitely say it's probably age.
It's probably age. It wasn't that Okinoumi didn't know what to do. It's not that the other guy was that much better.
He just slow reaction time.
It was that the battle of equals. That's that little fraction of a second, and then just pile on everything else we said about this person's out, that person's out. How much does he want to be there?
Right, exactly. How much does he want to risk on a tournament that's like this?
Yeah. But I think that even if you give him the 4 and 10, I don't think he'll fall too far. And even if he does fall down that far, the way he was fighting, that half step is just going to go back to his way.
He did win on his... No, he...
Yeah, he lost out the last...
He hadn't won in a while.
So there's not a lot of saving going on for him. All right. So we just mentioned that the last day took out some people. Hokutofuji, Megashira 7 West, 6-9 or 6-8 in a withdrawal.
Just to add insult to injury.
I felt like this was targeted at me directly, honestly.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, somebody's got an axe to grind with you, John.
It's fine. Well, I'll just me and some global pandemic are just going to be in a Wendy's parking lot just fighting in a week or so. There'll be a Twitter battle. It's going to escalate. The cops will be called. It's going to be gross.
It's going to happen.
It's going to be gross. I'm just accepting it. I have no control over this roller coaster. But what the problem was now. Similar to Okinoumi, because it was the last day, it's not like we were robbed of any potential. The problem for Hokutofuji is that now he's getting Takakeisho syndrome. His main weapon is gone.
And now what is he going to do with that?
So now what is he going to do? Amusingly, he does a belt grip on Tobizaru to beat him.
Yeah, how weird is that?
And he does some ballerina stuff and slaps and times. So Hokutofuji is sort of in that same boat that Takakeisho's in, but he's not Takakeisho.
Right.
He doesn't have that instinct, that drive. He's still never say die. He's still my favorite.
He's a hard worker, but he doesn't have all the parts.
He doesn't have all the parts anymore. And the problem is, if he can't do what Takakeisho did and figure it out, he's doomed.
Right. There's just too many good guys.
It's the Sumo is just going to run right past him. And that sucks for me. I am
See what I mean about having favorites? It's the worst.
It's two-way street.
Right.
So he is, from what I can tell, there is a baseline level of power and skill that he has, which means that if he is doomed to mediocrity, it's going to be a long mediocrity. So we'll get to see him for a while. He's not going to fade out. He's not going to Enho.
Right.
By the way, Enho 8-7. On the way back.
Oh, on the way back. I hope we see him again.
He's moving in the right direction for it. But anyway, so Hokutofuji, he needs a new bag of tricks, and he's showing signs. And the same way that Takakeisho was showing signs.
Just trying some things.
He's way further back on that track than where Takakeisho is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I am using Takakeisho as sort of it's possible, it can be done. So Hokutofuji.
Well, I mean, those two had epic clashes long before, Takakeisho was the Ozeki, because their styles were so similar, and it was really who's going to be stronger. And they would always bleed. There was always somebody bleeding in that match.
Yeah, there's a lot of blood for Hokutofuji. But hope COVID passes you by pretty clean, and then you can keep working on whatever you need to work on to get those wins back. Okay, so still, this is, again, 7 and 8, ignore that. Megashira 8 East, Tochinoshin. The 7 and 8 is good news, because this is a holding things together still.
Yes.
Also, showing of defense and sort of stronger knees than before. So when he fought Kotoeko, all the way back when, Kotoeko spun him like a top over and over and over. And I'm sitting there like I am waiting for a cracking sound. But Tochinoshin keeps up with him, stays sturdy. People are pushing up against him. He holds at the rope. He's doing things that I would say the former Ozeki Tochinoshin was doing. Not the barely holding on, us looking to each other, praying the rosary, hoping that we get to see him in the next tournament Tochinoshin. So this is this post revival, sticking with it. That was, again, the 7 and 8, maybe they'll bump him down and make a Shira 9, but like as a net positive, he's extending the lease.
He seems stable. Like, he seems stable in the place that he's at, whereas before it was like, it's just falling.
It's the stability.
All right, it's like he's got his foot in the right hold while he's climbing this mountain, and he might slip a little bit, but he's like, no, I got this. I'm not worried anymore.
So, again, like, you see the 7 and 8, I tell you, this is, if this was an older Tochinoshin, it would have been worse.
Oh,
the way that people were pushing him, the way that he was fighting. Also, and we were mentioning this with Hokutofuji and Takakeisho, some more Plan B stuff. And now he'd been, this was the key to Tochinoshin's sort of ability to do anything.
Right,
but,
he needed a Plan B.
But like if there was a few more like decided slapdowns that he's leaning up against somebody, and instead of going for the belt, he goes for the slapdown, and he does that like that spring-loaded slapdown.
Oh yeah,
where he goes slaps you, and like then you hit the dirt at 30 miles an hour,
and you like kind of bounce off the ring.
So again, applying his power to places where he can, the adaptation, and we're gonna get a year out of him.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we were so worried.
Every tournament, it was flowing down. We're like, oh no, the sun's set.
It's a good feeling that I'm like not panicking about Tochinoshin.
Not panicking anymore. He seems okay. You know, I mean, though, as is the case, we'll see for later. But for right now, July, whatever today is, 2022, in the year of our Lord, he's fine.
Right.
Everything's good.
And then with any luck, we'll see him in 2023 at the same month.
Give him a year. We'll see. So, all right. Back to this. Nishikigi, Megashira 8 West, 8-5-2. Another COVID pullout.
Same record as Tobizaru, right?
Yeah. Both of them have basically the same story. For Nishikigi, it's that resurgence veteran. So this is what happened it's happened with Shimanoumi. Sadanoumi. Sorry, I'm looking at Shimanoumi and talking. That he just comes back, like we're like he fell down in a Juryo. We're like, nice to know you became a Juryo man. Now he's coming back. Now he's fighting well. Now he's climbing up the rank and is not showing any signs of slowing down. Mm-hmm. He made again right here. He was 8-3, 8-2 right here. He was in that list. We were talking about it during the live chat. You're just like, Nishikigi, hard to get further out of left field than this outside of Nishikifuji, who is in it for a little bit as well, which would have been I think you had mentioned this, would have been the return of the lowest rung Yusho.
Yeah, we had so much potential with that 7-way tie of either
wild.
A veteran winning it, or the lowest man in the tournament, or the rising star with Kotonowaka. We had all these stories, and COVID just went and said,
ripped it out.
Forget your stories.
a lot of so technically, Nishikigi is showing a refinement of like his big core, which is the ability to reverse momentum. Mm-hmm. So he's got a strong defense, but then he knows what to do. So like this is Kageyaki's big problem. Kageyaki, by the way, 7 and 8, unfortunate, down in Juryo. But like that was the big thing we always said, is that like if you get on Kageyaki, he has no way of turning the tables back to his favor. That's Nishikigi's jam.
Right. It's like, I like being in this position.
He's able to deal with it, and so he's able to read people's opponents. He does this weird like anti-physics at the ring edge. He did like that leaping slapdown of Aoiyama, like he was in the air. Wild stuff. So similar to with Kotonowaka, I'm like, he proved that he's got more to tell us. So, and again, sucks for the Yusho race, but net positive in that in September we can expect a lot out of him.
Well, and the cool thing is for him and Tobizaru is that they still finished 8 and 7.
Yeah, so they still have a Kachikoshi, which means that not only are they going to keep their promotion going up, but the COVID may give them like a little bit of a boost.
Right, because it's like they didn't have to be saved by COVID; they were already saved.
They were already saved, and they may look at some of those absences and says, Taka. Well, we're doing the math. Tack an extra win on.
Right, exactly.
Maybe. We'll see.
Never know. It depends on the mood they're in.
So speaking of mood.
Oh, what a down mood.
Okay, I don't know how to read this one. Shimanoumi, Megashore 9 East, 1-14.
We haven't seen a crash out like this in a while.
It's been what we call the oh no show.
Yes, the oh no show.
Out of nowhere. So the big problem for Shimanoumi is that people were able to pry open his defense. That was his big thing. And that's what I like about him, is that he had that grit that I'm going to hold at the edge forever.
Until you lose.
Until you lose it. People are just like, oh, we'll just pick him up. Oh, we'll just get the belt. Oh, we'll just pull him down. They were reading him. They were undoing him. And like, COVID's not the whole story for this. Something happened. Maybe he's injured. He's still got the bandages on his leg, but I felt like that was better. Maybe it's the heat. Maybe we go back to the original issues with Nagoya.
I mean, somebody had to be affected by the heat. It was a major contributor all this time. Maybe he really doesn't like the heat.
There's something missing from Shimanoumi. So he's...
Oh, man, look at that. Like, just one white circle.
Against Hokutofuji. Thanks.
Sorry about that, John.
I gotta dig myself on that one. So, with the 1-14, what's actually really weird about this, last day, he loses against Jiryo. Mitoryu's 9-6 at Jiryo 4. Sometimes they like doing that musical chairs fight. So, normally, if you're at Megashira 9, you're high up enough, but with a 1-14 and a loss to a Jiryo man on the last day.
And all this COVID stuff going on.
I'm worried for him.
This Banzuke could be real tricky.
I'm worried. So, off to Kotoeko, back to COVID town. 5-6-4. So, I feel like I would have wanted those 5 days back for him. But he was 5-5 on the last day, which is a good story of him. And also, even the few days that we did have him, really good stuff. So I had mentioned the merry-go-round.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was one of the best matches of the tournament.
One of the best matches. Because Kotoeko runs him. 30 attacks in 10 seconds, and Tochinoshin weathers them all, and you're like, oh no, Kotoeko's tiring out. Tochinoshin gets the belt, you're like, oh no,
it's over.
You worked so hard, and then Kotoeko reverses him at the end! I lost my mind!
Yeah, I was thinking of a totally different storyline for Kotoeko before COVID came in. I was just picturing, like, he was gonna, have this, like, really hard fought 8-7 or 9-6,
wild.
And it's gonna be like Kotoeko is back, and then gets out for COVID. You just kind of forget about all the stuff he was doing.
Yeah. Also, while we're talking about crazy matches, he gets 2 of these in one basho. He's fighting Meisei. Meisei gets him on the belt, dead to rights, pushes him up against the rope. One-legged defense on the ropes. Meisei can't get him out. His free leg, he trips Meisei while going backwards.
That was
throws him. Kotoeko crazy. I'm crying.
Yeah,
yelling.
Talk about somebody who is trying a bunch of new tricks.
So we are seeing, now around the bottom half of the Banzuke, we are seeing the resurgence of the little sumo. Ura's sort of the poster way back up. Also, Ura's bulking up a little bit, so he is.
He's not really, I don't really consider him small man sumo anymore.
I think they throw him out of the kiddie pool, honestly.
Yeah.
But Kotoeko, it's Midorifuji, and it's Terutsuyoshi. These guys on the lower side, they are making their run, and this is also it's the excitement factor. And for Kotoeko, who's always, for a long time, we're talking about his struggle. He can't figure it out. He can't get his identity. This is his identity.
Yes, I hope he sort of channels everything he was doing in those first 5 days. Or how long did he last? He lasted more than 5 days. In those first 10 days, and just finds a way to make them even more effective. Because mixing in leg trips with, power sumo, with, tricky things on the edge, that was exciting, and it was working.
It's crazy fun. Beforehand, I would see Kotoeko in a match, and I don't know what to think. I'm like, I don't know. How is he going to do today? Now I see Kotoeko, I'm like, Let's go.
Exactly.
I'm excited. I'm happy for it. Also, what's really funny now is that we have these really talented smaller guys. When they fight against each other, it looks like a normal match. And it's so confusing.
I know.
Like when you fight Midorifuji and you're just doing strongman sumo, but they're all like 250 pounds. I'm like, what's like your brain
cannot compute.
It can't handle what's going on. You're like, these guys are small. Why are they doing strongman sumo?
I love it though. I love saying, okay, so who's gonna strongman sumo the other guy when they weigh exactly the same?
Tiny man strongman sumo. It's so good. So Kotoeko, bless. Now, again, those 5 days would have been nice. I feel, and this is the case for a few people that got hit with the COVID stick. It's just like I feel like we got what we wanted. Mm-hmm. We got what we needed, and for Kotoeko now, I'm like, give me more.
We need to see. We need September to see more.
Yeah, it's you try and you got a new cookbook. You're trying some new recipes. You're just like, what's this Kotoeko stew?
Right, and you ran out of one of the key ingredients. You're like, how would it have tasted if I just bought a little bit more next time?
And you're just like, I gotta cook this again. I gotta cook this again now. Kotoeko, well done. I feel like because he was 5-5 and he did fight so well, he's fine.
I don't think they're gonna do much to him.
Maybe even bump him up a little bit. Probably not. Probably that's wishful thinking.
You never know, but probably not.
Yeah. Okay, so next up, Chiyotairyu, 6-9. Another person who's just kept doing his normal sumo as if nothing was happening around him.
Yeah, it's like nothing's changed.
Yeah, Megashira 10E. So with the 6-9, under normal circumstances, it'd be like maybe you need to start worrying. But the way this Basho is turning out, he's staying with us at least another 2 tournaments.
Right.
So what was nice to see about Chiyotairyu is at least somebody in this tournament is knocking people senseless off the Tachiai. we had ran out of people doing it.
Yeah, all the guys who used to
not doing it. Tamawashi wasn't doing it. Daieisho wasn't doing it. Takanosho wasn't doing it. Onosho was actually, I think he did it once, but Chiyotairyu did it 3 times. And did it with the kind of I'm 10 years younger power. There was one time he cracked somebody. I'm like, whoa! I hadn't seen this in 4 months.
Yeah, exactly. From anybody.
So unfortunately, he's still push-pull man. So if that,
I know every time he pulls, he's not going to recover from that. He has no backup plan when he pulls. I don't know why he does it, but
at least
it's a reflex.
Yeah. So good to see that his plan A is getting better at least.
Yeah, you better ride that plan A all the way to the bank.
It seems like it. Oh man, that strength, it was good. So
they're gonna love fighting him in the summer tournament.
No, bet. Yet at least we're showing that there's some improvement, improvement. Because beforehand we didn't know what to say, and it was just the scraping by.
And we thought he was just gonna go down.
Then he sort of got bumped back up. He's like an 8-7 and 9-6. Anyway, Chiyotairyu, bless your heart, and just aim for the head ref the next time you're knocking somebody out of the ring. Anyway, next up, Megashira 10 West, Meisei, another good story, but I don't have to justify it because he's 9-6, and like I was mentioning before when he was fighting Ichinojo, the Sanyaku Meisei is coming back. And that is bad news for everybody around him.
He probably was just still recovering from the injury.
He was. So, it's that speed that he has, the way he can get on the belt, the way he can move around, and you can't keep track of it.
And you can see the wheels turning, too. He's very strategic.
And so, he beats Ichinojo. He beats Abi, which, for me, in my head, I'm like, it's like he never left. Because these people, he beat them decisively, particularly Ichinojo, who was on a tear, and we just mentioned this. And then gets plan B out of Abi, hilarious. So one thing that was kind of interesting to me, and I'm sort of wondering if this is going to translate. So when he fights Oho, he fights different than normal. He doesn't go for the belt. The two of them just headbutt each other a half dozen times until Oho gets concussed. I was like, whoa, Meisei.
What's the change there?
I was just like, man, and this is something. Now, this was also some where the 6 losses comes in. Is this massive aggression, which was part of his game already,
right? But there was a little extra spice.
There's a rawness to it that I feel like, oh, he's back. Oh, he's sick of this.
I'm gonna say, I think he's mad. He's like, I don't belong here.
So when we were mentioning people getting injured and falling down and then reacting and coming back up differently, Meisei sort of had a stutter start, and part of us were wondering, oh no, is this physical, is this mental? It's like, nah guys, he's fine. He's fine. So expect him to pole vault back up into this massive log jam.
Yeah.
And can you imagine poor Kiribayama struggling with that 8 and 7? Now he's a 7 and 8. Go to Kotonowaka, who thinks he's hot crap. Is like, are you really? By the way, these two, Meisei and Kotonowaka, I want that fight now. I don't want to wait till September. I want them now. I want you to call them up, and you just get out like a phone video and just show them.
Just right in the parking lot.
Right in the park. Like, do it on the dirt. Go. Don't have to be on the. Don't have to be on the concrete. But it can be if you can't make anything else work. Because I need this now.
Exactly. we'll call it the summer parking lot tour.
Summer parking lot tour.
We're gonna go to all the konbinis and just do a little practice.
Yeah, and this is part of like what is slowly to me getting really, really exciting. Is now there are these lower ranked stories. Now there's more wrestlers that are showing the spark of interest than just Hakuho, than just Terunofuji,
right?
Than just who else is falling out. We're no longer just begging the Ozeki to become Ozeki.
Right. Now it's like, okay, we have other guys we can focus on.
There's other storylines, there's other guys, and, they're not at the rank yet, but you can put an Ozeki belt on Meisei in 2 years.
Oh, absolutely. If he keeps himself healthy.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I was like, ugh, yeah. Future, look at
he wants to get rid of those naysayers that said that he didn't belong in Sanyaku. I can tell you that.
I mean... In fairness, he was a little flaily, and
I get it.
Yeah. But this is Meisei's second chance to just
do your thing and don't listen to anybody.
Get in there. So good, Meisei. Meisei, bless you. Next up, Megashira 11 East Kotoshoho 5, 6, and 4. All the Kotos had to go, and that is a no-go. But
Koto.
Okay. So he was 5 and 5. So interesting that. Kotoeko and Kotoshoho, exact same records, completely different stories.
Yep.
So Koto, like with Kotoeko, we're like he's still struggling, but like there are those moments are like really good. Kotoshoho is still trying to figure it out.
He does seem pretty lost.
It's the consistency. He still has that crazy flex defense. Him and Hoshoryu both have that.
That's what's killing Hoshoryu too.
Yeah. But what Kotoshoho, whatever he needs, he still hasn't found it out. I don't know if those extra 5 days would have done him anything.
No, but the nice thing about being 5 and 5 is that we don't have to guess.
Yeah, we don't have to guess. He'll just be right there.
They'll just keep him where he's at.
He is. I feel like it is like he's like a molecule away from success or failure. It's so right in the middle.
It's funny that you bring up Hoshoryu because they do have this similar thing. Like they've got this great flexibility, but it could be turned on them
a little bit.
And you got to have a plan to use it properly. It's almost like they need to go talk to Ura because Ura is also doing that with a much larger body. But Ura's like, okay, I'm gonna flip you over my head when I'm in that position. Yeah. It's almost like they don't know what to do with the skills that they have.
A little bit, but Kotoshoho's still working on it now. Also, super young, super talented. We know what he can do. It's just getting it together. So let him.
It's a time
thing. It's a time thing. So he'll figure it out. He has the greatest sumo channeling energy sumo face.
Yeah, he does.
He looks like a 90s video game villain. It's almost comedically scrunched in. And he had 3 mono-E's, so we got to see that 3 days. I still think he's got a bright future. I
agree with you. I just think he's got to figure it out.
He's got to figure it out. Let him figure it out. Oh, speaking of bright future, speaking of small man sumo, Midorifuji 10 and 5.
I've been waiting for him to break out.
He should have gotten a special prize, but I'm not going to get into that.
That's a whole other thing.
It's fine. So, slick moves. Did not actually do his Katasukashi much at all. So all of his slick moves were just other stuff, which really is not good news for anyone else. He's just like, here's my bread and butter. I don't need it. I'm just gonna get behind you and chuck you.
Yeah, it was good that he didn't want to be like Terutsuyoshi.
Yeah,
and, just only show the one move.
So he also he throws Tsurugisho. By the way, so in my mind it was who's the king of small man sumo? It's not Terutsuyoshi. So is it Midorifuji or is it Kotoeko? So 2 things happened that made this very easy. 1, they actually fought each other, and Midorifuji won. 2, they both fought Tsurugisho. Tsurugisho just smothered Kotoeko out of existence. Tsurugisho could not smother Midorifuji, and Midorifuji threw 200 kilo Tsurugisho. I did not. I had to rewatch that. I'm like, physics doesn't work that way. Midorifuji.
Like, what just happened?
What?
Did you have like some invisible power, like a key attack or something that you did that no one could see? I hope that hernia got all resolved.
Well, if you can throw Tsurugisho, your hernia.
You would assume so. But like usually you have to get surgery on a hernia, and he hasn't missed any time at all. So I'm like, what is he doing? Is he just fighting through the pain, or did they do some intermediary thing?
There could have been. There could have been some stuff he got. I mean, you do that. You can't do that.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, I was surprised to see how well he did, because I was still thinking about that original issue. But this is what I expected him to be able to do. Mm-hmm. And it was so exciting. I'm like, good, finally.
Yeah, promising prospect to Midorifuji. Him and Kotoeko are going to do that small man sumo stuff that we love so much. And, I mean, the way that Midorifuji's going, and with the support he now has in the top division, there could be some stuff going on. We're going to keep an eye on him in September, November. We're going to see an evolution, I feel. Conversely,
the other small man.
Megashira 12 East, Terutsuyoshi 6 and 9. So we do not doubt him for being consistent. So Terutsuyoshi right here is 1 and 6, losing to Kotoeko. And the problem he was having is that everybody they figured it out. Keep him at arm's length and then just beat on him until you can get him out.
Yep.
And that's what everybody did. So then he bullies Shimanoumi a little bit. But so now he's 2 and 6. And he has to figure something out. And he does the most Terutsuyoshi thing possible. 5 days of leg picks. Mm-hmm. I couldn't be mad.
No, I couldn't be either. I'm glad you said that, because I'm like, if it's working and he really doesn't have another plan, okay.
I can't it's like somebody went to him and was like, Terutsuyoshi, your biggest problem is that you're too much Terutsuyoshi. And then he's just like, I know what I'll do. I'll be even more Terutsuyoshi. And I'll leg pick 5 consecutive days, and won 3 of them, by the way. So
and what do you say to those guys that it's like, okay, guys, you knew he was going for the leg pick.
Yeah, you go to Chiyomaru, just like you do know what he was going to do, and Chiyomaru's just like, he got my leg, I'm sorry.
Well, that's it. He's like, I knew he was going to do it, but I couldn't stop him.
Yeah. So the 6 and 9, the big problem for Terutsuyoshi is that he's a little bit too low for a 6 and 9, a bit too low to be figured out. He's not going to be out of the top division for a little while yet, but now we're starting to see
he's running out of run.
He's running out of run, and I don't it's just, we always say, it's just like you can't tell him to stop being him, but at this rate he's going to be in Juryo.
He needs a major overhaul.
Yeah, he's going to die on that sword in a bit, right?
Yeah, it's kind of the Terutsuyoshi way.
It is, unfortunately, but. Oh man, he did the leg pick against Oho. I'm like the 5th time. I'm like,
you're like, this is just trolling at this point. He's basically daring these guys, like, okay, let's see if you can stop me.
It's a weird. It's like when you play rock paper scissors with somebody, and
you just keep putting down paper.
You just keep throwing down paper. You keep throwing like scissors, and he throws paper, and just like scissors. He throws paper again. And you're like, what are you doing? He's just like, we're playing again. That's what we're doing.
I'm going to win with paper.
Hilarious to Terutsuyoshi. Oh my gosh, what a guy. So Megashira 12 West, Takarafuji 9 and 6 off the list.
Welcome back.
So I feel like if he was like just a half step even better, we would have seen like a full resurgence, 11 wins.
Which would have been crazy.
Which would have been a crazy, because there were only a couple of matches that he went training dummy, and also the early on these 2 matches here really really close, and he loses, which was frustrating. And I was a little worried. I'm like,
you thought it was gonna be a downward slide.
It keeps happening to him, that he gets these really strong defense, solid matches, and then he loses it at the end. I'm like, that was his problem when he was higher up. But then he rallies back. Then he's fine. Just muscling people.
I particularly enjoyed him beating Ryuden after Ryuden wins the Juryo championship, and Takarafuji beat him very cleanly. It's like, oh, you won the tournament? Oh, that's nice. Welcome back to the upper division.
Dumps him out into the stands.
I just laughed. I just laughed right out loud over that.
So good news is that he's definitely on the way back up, and like you can see all these losses and weird things going on. So like he'll be right there.
Yeah,
he's gonna take a trip up. But just good to see him back doing his thing.
Yeah, I'm glad we're not into this, downward spiral still. It's like, oh no, I had a couple off tournaments. Yep. I still got a lot in the tank.
Yep. So, okay, we are running out of people for me to be mad at. Ichiyamamoto.
This one had to sting for you because you've been really rooting for him. And it's like, there's been bad luck. There's been stuff that was his fault. And now you throw this COVID at him.
So, 6-3-6. What's funny is he was 8-7 before, but because it was 6-2. Mm-hmm. So the way I'm looking at this is that we just cut off those other 5 losses, and so now he gets to go to the Banzuke committee and be like 6-3, you gotta put me up, aren't you?
Right.
This is how I'm spinning this in my head.
For goodness sakes, I don't want to be in my Tier 13.
Yeah. So he's the big thing for Ichiyamamoto, and it's just like this is the same thing with like Abi and I guess Chiyotairyu, is that when you're that big pusher, if the pushing doesn't work, you fall back on that plan B, which is almost always pulling. There's almost always not something you want to be doing. He's been working on that. He was fighting against Takarafuji, and that was a big back and forth long match. And I feel like if he didn't have his defenses up, if he didn't have that gumption to keep going, he would have lost that.
Yeah, he looked good.
The victory. So we're seeing the consistency. So not just the increase in power, and he blasted a few people out. I mean, he's not launching people, but like he pushes into you and you're gone. But it's the defense. Again, it's that what do you do when that tool doesn't work?
Right.
That's always that deciding factor for people.
Yes, you have to be able to hang in there sometimes. Like you might have a plan B, but if you can't even hang in there to execute it, it does you no good. And that's more of like an Ichiyamamoto problem. And I was thinking to myself when he was still in it before COVID was even a consideration, he looks real good this tournament. I mean, John's going to be happy about this. And then I'm like, of course.
Yeah. Now,
wasn't he like the first one?
He was early.
He was one of the early ones.
Again, 6-2. He was in the talks. And then all we can do for Ichiyamamoto and a lot of these guys, we just wait for September.
Do over.
September will be the sobering up. It will be the crazy fever is gone now. What is our reality? And that will be. So I'm very optimistic for Ichiyamamoto, and I just gotta wait.
Yep.
I gotta do something.
Got no choice.
Oh man, if I had a choice,
things would go very differently.
It'd be like day 16.
Yeah, we're going into 20 days.
20 days now. I get angry letters. Okay, Chiyo Shoma, Mega Sierra 13 West 7-8. Another guy pulled it together, sort of at the end. Like second week, he got 4 of his 7 wins on the second week. Couple of hankas for Chiyo Shoma. I don't even know what to say anymore.
I'm never gonna hanka again.
Mr. Yeah, he does it twice. Wins with one of them, loses with one of them.
He can't help himself, John.
He can't. I can't be like all I can do is point it out. It's sort of like, like when you're at like a birthday party with like a bunch of like it's like a kid's birthday party, and like there's that one kid who's a little spoiled, and like he keeps going after the desserts, and his mom is sort of just like, stop going over there, and then he goes away, and like you just like give him 2 minutes, he's back in those desserts.
And you're like, I don't even have the energy to fight this.
You're just like, you can't stop him. He's going to be back in the desserts. The mom's going to yell again. Nothing's going to change.
You just got to take the cake off the table.
You do. You just got to get rid of it. I'm sorry.
That is Chiyo Shoma.
It's Chiyo Shoma. Some really rough losses. He did some real like miraculous defenses on like against Oho. Oho's blasting him out. He's just like, no, I'm going to hold it. And then he still loses. It sucks. I think Oho like crushes him out.
Yeah.
So it's always an insult to injury when the guy just falls on top of you. So some of that, so like if if that if the A for effort, but you still fail the test kind of a thing happens. So like if you just take one of them, because he's 7-8, like he wins against Oho 8-7, all of a sudden it's a different story.
Yep.
But if nothing else, the hunger and the fact that it went down to the last day, and then he fights Kiribayama, so
right, somebody that could legit beat him.
So what are you gonna do against Kiribayama when? And now this is a case where I can't be on anyone's case because who else is he gonna fight? Everyone else is out on COVID.
Right. So now he's stuck fighting guys well above where he's at. So, yeah, you got to take your lumps, I guess.
I mean, this was a Darwin match. Kiribayama was 7-7 going into it. Chiyoshoma was 7-7 going into it. They like doing that, and then COVID just whatever. So Chiyoshoma get good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough. Hopefully holds rank with the 7-8. I don't know. So Midorifuji, 14 East, 9-6.
That was a surprise. Yes.
Super good. So this guy. Crack it like muscle man, like just like upending people, and similar to the way that Chiyotairyu, like there's some boost of energy for some people.
He's like hitting the weights or something. He's got a new strength trainer or something's going on.
Yeah. So he was fighting Chiyomaru. He's fighting Meisei. They're going at it, and Meisei and Midorifuji is just like, I'm gonna win now, and just move with some extreme power. And for a guy who's slow fading, this is what you want to see.
Oh yeah, this was unexpected too.
Yes. Now, is this going to be a resurgence or is this a spark and fade? That's September for you to determine what's going on with this. If nothing else, moving in the right direction, which is upwards.
Yes.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness, Midorifuji, you were giving us a fright. So next up, we have Tsurugisho, 5-8-2, COVID slapped. So he was 5-7 when COVID hit.
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
Real tricky one. So we had mentioned that Tsurugisho habitually has a struggle, that he comes up, sort of hangs out in the top division, goes back down to Juryo. Comes up, struggles a little bit. So this was, for all intents and purposes, this was as expected.
Yeah.
So now the big question would have been, could he have gotten those other three? Could he have won out to get 8-7? Would it have been 7-8? Would it have been 5-10? That's really that last few days of wiggle room is sort of the only real question. But the rest of everything else seemed to go as per. I wouldn't worry about demotion for him. There's not going to be a lot of demoting of anybody going on.
Right. So
the good news for Tsurugisho and Chiyoshoma and a couple other people is that you're here. You're here. We'll see Tsurugisho again.
He's not Juryo bound.
So that's good news. He's fun and he's big.
And it's fun to watch the little guys fight him.
They have to try so hard.
They do. They're like trying to push up against a brick wall.
So he's fun. He's a belt technician too. Don't sleep on him. And
he's pretty he's got that ballet stride around at the edge.
Yeah. And also a lot of his wins were people that just couldn't deal with it. Like some big people couldn't deal with it. Sorry, I'm 400 pounds of not gonna move for you.
Exactly.
What are you gonna do about it?
Let's see what you got, man.
Next up, Megashira 15 East Onosho 10-5. Got to the 10 wins. Struggled a little bit, but then just went on tear. This is what you want to see out of somebody who is a top contender and gets knocked down due to injury. Double-digit wins on the way back, so just no big deal.
He didn't get the special prize, but
it's fine. So also on the last day, we get a visit from our best Juryo friend Shiono Kuni. They have a fight.
Isn't Shiono Kuni just so awesome?
Oh, it was so good. So and again, you need two people for a fight, and Onosho brought it.
Yep.
And the two of those guys went after each other, and I felt like that was the perfect ending for Onosho.
Yeah.
Because he needed a guy he can just go with, and he went.
Onosho is one of those guys that, like Endo, he rises to the level of the opponent in this, energy-wise.
Energy.
I wouldn't say talent-wise, because, he's a little one-note sometimes. But energy-wise, if he's going against a brawler, that's the best match you're going to get out of him.
Get out of him. So I feel like it's good news. Onosho making his way back. Some of the losses were particularly early on when he was 2-3. I'm like, what's going on here?
Are we going to have another one of those?
Then he cleans it out. Kind of annoying when he loses to people who
he shouldn't lose
be losing to. But like a lot of this stuff is just some of his balance issues, some of his timing issues, stuff his normal Achilles heels. But ultimately, the good news is that down here
doesn't matter so much.
Doesn't matter as much. So on one hand, good to see the double digit wins because he's going to go back up. But on the other hand,
it's traditionally not been working out for him.
It's not. I don't. I just hope that he keeps the momentum. He keeps the fire. More of the Chiyonokuni, less of the Tsurugisho.
Correct. That's a nice comparison there.
So next up, Oho Kachikoshi for the first time.
Finally.
Megashira 15, 8-7. It is just barely. But you know what? 8-7, like it's that mental click. It's just like I got it. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right now, maybe he can fight a little bit more freely.
So he does. He is sort of a don't know what to do on defense kind of a guy so far. And again, how much of this is nerves? How much of this is COVID? How much of this is just not there yet?
And having the 7-8 the first time he appears. Yeah. So like, does he have a little bit of the paranoia in the back of his mind?
A little bit of that. So the hope is that this sort of puts a lot of that to rest. I don't feel like he's got the ramp that was promised.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not really Oho's fault. That, particularly when you have like Kotonowaka and Hoshoryu and all these other dynasty people coming up. And Oho's just like, we'll be up in there with him. He'll be a Yokozuna. And we're just like, let him. All right, let's build from here. Let's build from the 8-7 and not from the Taiho is my great uncle.
Yeah, like just let the man breathe.
Yeah, and it's the same deal. So this is his breathing, let's say. So Oho, from here you can grow stronger.
Exactly.
We hope. So another 8-7, just barely. Takayama.
This is like a celebrate, go out for drinks kind of 8-7.
This is a oh my god, we got it 8-7. This is a get the good sake out. It's an 8-7.
Exactly.
Just again gets it on the last day. Beats Tochinoshin, which is no.
Several times Takayama didn't get it on the last day.
Again.
So even though
you're right,
it's obvious that he's messed up and he doesn't have much of an upward projection, at least it's something positive for once.
So another positive for here is he fought 2 Jiryo people. He fought Tohakuryu and he fought Kageyaki, and he beat the pants off of both of them. So for me, like in the back of my mind, like those are those pivot matches, those musical chair matches, and both times Takayama's just like, I am top division material.
Not you.
No, so, I mean,
you're not taking my spot.
Yeah, get out of here. So Kageyaki, you did give him a pretty good fight, but Tohaku just got slammed. Oh my goodness. Takayama was just like, you don't belong in this ring with me.
It was like alternate universe Takayama.
It was. So taking the positive, Takayama gets to Kachikoshi to stay in and then says to people who want his spot, you don't get it.
Yep.
Good news for Takayama.
Hopefully he can find, obviously his issue is injuries.
Yes.
If he wasn't like perpetually injured, he'd be a top guy. And unfortunately, we're never going to be able to have that conversation about him. So we got to celebrate the 8-7.
Got to celebrate the 8-7. For Takayama, it's going to be small victories.
Yep.
It's the little things.
Whatever keeps him in the upper division.
So next up, speaking of keeping the top division, Megashira 16 West, Daieisho 2-9-4. So this poor soul hurts his ankle on day 1, out on day 2. I think the announcers were just like, he needs like a week. Pretty bad. Comes back after 2 more days and is clearly one-legged sumoing.
Right.
And this is like the very obvious, go home. Rest up.
Yeah.
You're just making it worse. You're not going to win. Mm-hmm. Then he gets COVID.
So now what do you do with that? Because it's pretty obvious that he was going to...
So he was 2-8-2.
Okay, so he already had his Makakoshi.
Yeah. So right here. So this is right here. This is 2-8-2. Then he becomes 2-9-2 and then 2-9-4. So like on normal paper, that's 10 losses.
Yep.
And here is where things are going to get really weird when it comes to who goes up and who goes down, because we've got Daieisho, who's basically has 10 losses on his record before COVID hits.
Yep.
probably only going to get worse from there. You've got Shimanoumi, 1-14, loses the pivot match to Mitoryu on the last day. We have Chiyomaru, 6-9, that we'll talk about in a little bit, but he's on the bottom rung.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen. I do not feel like it's going to end well for Daieisho, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's just a little bit too low with too many losses.
Too low, injured ankle, just bad timing. So we really can't even see what kind of sumo he could have brought anyway.
Right, because he wasn't going to be bringing
Which is unfortunate, because like whenever you see these guys come back, you're just like, let's see what you got. Let's see if you brought any new spice.
Want them to, have the reunion, like, yay, I'm here.
Like, coming back.
You guys miss me?
Do some fun stuff, but just not his tournament at all.
No.
He had it coming on all fronts. So sorry to hear that, Daieisho. All right. So Nishikigi, this was a big story, a big positive story. 17 East, 10-5, gets the special prize for fighting spirit. Mm-hmm. So I feel like this was a statement. I didn't like Nishikigi was news. Like he was a pretty big deal in Juryo, and he had a similar injured coaches stuck with him kind of a story that seems to be increasing in prevalence, which I love seeing because it means that people are taking their injuries seriously.
Right, actually taking care of themselves.
This guy fought like Terunofuji if you took 200 pounds off of Terunofuji. It was incredible.
And he could have been in the playoff conversation, just a couple of losses that were painful but understandable.
This is his first time here, and he's in the Yusho contention.
Yeah, so, like, exactly.
I still don't know how I feel about a guy gets 3 gimmies and he gets a special prize out of it, but like those 7 wins speak for themselves.
Right.
This is a guy fighting like frame for frame, the way that Terunofuji does, the way that Takarafuji does. His stablemate's power is his power.
Yes.
Good on defense, good on offense, good technique, good timing, a bright future for this guy. And even something like when he fought with Meisei, that was an incredible back and forth fight. That was one of those fights that you're just like, nobody lost today.
Right, exactly.
So like Meisei got the circle, but Nishikigi proved that it's more than he belongs here. He's going up.
Yep.
And I am like, for you, it's so hard. Like we were just talking about Oho. That transition is murder on people.
You gotta wonder with the craziness of this Banzuke if they're gonna be like, okay, let's see what you got, and like really launch him up there.
Normally that concerns me. I feel like Nishikigi kind of needs the fast track.
Yeah, because if you let him dwindle too long down there and something stupid happens, like an injury.
Let's get him up there. Let's just
get him up there.
Yeah,
There's no reason to wait.
Yeah, 8 East is open, by the way. 7 East is open. Would you like to go up 10 spots? I don't think he's going to notice.
Yeah, I think that he could be up to the challenge.
And like also a lot of the things that he lost for, like easily fixed. Nerves.
Right, even just having it's his first time and there's the COVID stuff going on.
Yeah, it does so
10-5 with all that pressure.
Incredible. Oh, Nishikifuji's going to be fun.
I thought, maybe we were going to have a first timer again at the bottom rung.
It was close. We did mention this. He is in prime black sheep or dark horse, or black sheep too, I guess. I don't know. Prime, you're not supposed to win at territory back when that was like the best spot to be.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Nishikigi, good to meet you. Good to see you. You're looking great.
Looking forward to the future.
And, you have people like Nishikigi. You have people like Meisei coming up. Now we've got a whole roster of people fighting these good matchups, these good rivalries. And we're not even talking about Sanyaku anymore. It's fun.
Well, because it's the future.
It's the future. It's coming. And by the way, he'll be in Sanyaku one day if he keeps fighting the way he's fighting.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about that.
So we will wrap it up. Megashira 17 West, Chiyomaru 6-9. Chiyomaru, another guy who just fighting like nothing's going on. This is
typical.
This is him fighting his best, winning some, losing more. Unfortunately, I don't feel like there was anything that was concerning. It's just that Chiyomaru just doesn't have top division stuff in the tank like he used to.
Yeah, he's just he's an aging veteran who's probably just like savoring every moment he has, and we'll enjoy him until it's over.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, I think we said this coming in that we don't expect to see him for long, but it's just good to see him, the jolly man with the lime green belt. So
exactly.
Thanks for showing up, Chiyomaru. Thank you for not getting COVID.
Yes.
that would have been rough. So that's the 43. Special prizes went to Fighting Spirit for Nishikigi, as we said, and also an outstanding performance for Ichinojo, which was no less deserved. Comes to Juryo. So here's where things get interesting. So COVID made a mess of the top division, but it kind of also made a mess of the Juryo. So we have Ryuden, who's going up, 12-3, gets the Yusho, 100% up. Then gets dumped by Takarafuji, which is still fun. Now we start looking at everybody else. We don't see a winning score until we get to Mitoryu with a 9-6. And at Juryo 4 West, that's about the cusp of where a winning score gets you up to the top division.
Yes.
And so it's also really rough. You look at the 7 and 8s right here.
I know.
This hurts.
That's pain.
So this is the shambled state of Juryo right now.
But Chiyonokuni got an 8 and 7?
He did.
Nice.
So on the way up, Juryo 5, I don't think that 8 and 7 is going to get him there.
No.
So on paper, we have one definite from Ryuden, and then we have one maybe with the Mitoryu, which means that we have 2 people coming up. And this is where it becomes interesting with the 1-14 Shimanoumi,
yep,
with the 2-9-4 Daieisho, and then the 6-9 Chiyomaru. One of those guys is going to get a pass simply because there's nobody there to replace them.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see who does, because Shimanoumi, 1-14, that typically gets you...
That gets you dumpstered.
Especially because he lost to Mitoryu.
Yes. And then the double-digit losses, effectively, from Daieisho is far worse than the 6-9, but the 6-9 is in the lowest rung. It's I don't know how this is going to go. It's chaos. It's fascinating.
I must ask you before, we wrap this up, what's going to happen to Kaisei? Is he going to keep fighting?
I don't. Well, this is the sad state of things.
Yeah, it looks like he's getting dumped into
5 and 10 and a little too low.
Yeah, he might be getting dumped.
Yago is definitely getting dumped. With a 4 and 11, that's a little bit further down. So the only way we'll know is we're gonna crack open the Makushita division. We're gonna go a little bit further than I normally go. So this guy's coming up. This guy's coming up. This guy. Oh, now we're on 3. That maybe this is the problem. Is that Kaisei, if you can count to like 2 people, Kaisei may be safe, but this number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Tomokaze. He's coming back!
I didn't know he was up that high. Well, there we go. There's some excitement. Throw a real wrench in everybody else's plans.
Tomokaze coming back. This is... So, 4 and 3 means he'll be like up here. Mm-hmm. Another 4 and 3 is in Juryo.
Finally gets a salary again.
And watch out. Tomokaze coming for those.
Coming for everybody.
Yep. Not a surprise. Asaniyama won the Sandame Yusho.
Oh, yes. We can now talk about him again.
We talk about him again. Everybody's talking about him again, so we don't have to. But
yeah, exactly. He's on everybody's lips.
Everybody's lips. Like, let the guy come back. But now he'll be in Makushita. He's probably going to win the Makushita Yusho.
He'll win Juryo when he gets to Juryo.
So,
when he gets to Maegashira 16, if he isn't like in the tournament, I will be shocked.
He's gonna just pole vault right back up.
There should be absolutely no reason why he doesn't go right back to Ozeki. But
wow, that is
the Kaisei thing. I was like, oh, yeah, John.
I was not happy to hear that, and
it might mean a retirement. We'll have to see.
Probably will. So yeah, there's at least 3 people coming up. So this guy, these absences, basically meant that he got the COVID knock, but he fought before the word cat out about the COVID.
Right.
So he was able to finish his day and then got benched. So he's not going down because he's protected from COVID.
Yep.
He's gone. Sorry, Yago. Go to Tochimaru. This is number 2. Again, there's 3 people coming up. 6 and 9. And so Kaisei's number 3. And so, Ishiro might save him.
Yeah, because Ishiro is definitely going down.
This is COVID, so he's safe. And then there's COVID. He's safe. And then we're up here. We're too far
Right.
for a dump. So Kaisei might be Juryo 14 West.
Oh boy, he is really playing with fire.
Might. So that's the hope, that Ishihara saves him and that these two people go down.
Yep, it's gonna be an interesting Banzuke.
Oh man. Oh, I need a nap. There's so much going on.
There is a lot of roller coaster.
But I mean, this is like, in a way, this is like peak sumo. There's
It
so many
is.
stories, so much excitement.
So much to look forward to, so many disappointments.
Oh, the ups, the downs. And yeah, now the Ozeki thing is turned on its head. Beforehand, we were talking about who's going to be the next Ozeki, who's going to save these bums.
And now the bums are on top of their game, at least for one tournament, and all those up-and-comers got pushed back down.
Right down. So Wakatakage is back to square one. Mm-hmm. Takakeisho is a breath away from being in the playoff.
I know. That's got to kill him because that's not the first time that's happened.
Yeah.
He's always just like hanging in there, and just one or two of his losses are what sabotages the whole ship.
Yeah.
But I will say this. The live stream that we had earlier in the week was really fun and really successful. So we're hoping to do some more of those. Unfortunately, they're going to be random. But if you have your notifications on, you'll catch it. You can watch it later, see if you like the conversation. But our hope would be that if you're around and you just want to talk about sumo, just pop in and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's just for the fun and to get us through between July and September.
Got to do something somehow.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Yeah, September can't
come fast enough.
I mean, fortunately, it's not February.
That's right.
Fortunately, it's not the January-March stretch where
That's the worst one.
You're frozen and stuck inside.
Because you at least have the summer.
You got the summer. So
and then all the holidays come. So we have lots to look forward to, but still, we really want sumo back.
Yeah, I need to get like 3 sunburns just to take my mind off this.
You're like, sumo what?
Sumo what?
I'm dying here.
Get past the aloe vera. Don't talk to me about sumo. Alrighty, well, as always, thank you very much for listening, sticking with us. Hope that you enjoyed listening to us as much as we enjoy putting this on.
Yes, and we will be seeing you sooner than later.
Adios.